It's just been recently Easter. Did you guys do any like Skype calls or Zoom calls with your family over Easter?
No, absolutely not. What would we do?
Well, I did.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you eat your Easter egg on camera?
Yeah, we all rang our granny, who's 92 years old, and her favourite holiday is Easter. And there was about 14 of us in the chat, and we all wore funny masks and or wore our Easter egg boxes on our head.
Just to really kill her, I guess.
She was very confused. It was very funny.
That's weird, Bryan, but also cute.
I was very happy with the results. That's all I got.
I showed my mom how to use Zoom, and she had this weird like mental barrier where like she couldn't really quite get into her head when I could see her or hear her and when I couldn't. So she was standing beside my dad and she'd just be talking to me, and then she'd look at my dad and just be like, so he can see us and hear us, can he? And I'll be like, yes, ma'am. And she'd be like, oh, okay. And then she'd carry on, and then it would reset a couple of minutes later, and she'd just be like, this is the glass Noreen got me. I'm holding it up now, John. And I'm like, yeah, ma'am, I can see that.
That's really good.
Yeah. They seem not affected by the current situation at all. I think they're two cozy old people and their lives are fine.
I think when you get to that age, you just have a, like, don't give a shit attitude, maybe a little bit. Like, my mom is, like, a high-risk person, but she's still like, you know, if I get it, I get it. You're like,
oh my God.
It's the people most at risk that don't seem to give a shit.
Probably for them, they've been worrying about so many other things. This is just another thing to worry about, and it's just being thrown on the pile, and it seems like there's other people worrying on their behalf.
Yeah,
so
totally.
Whatevs.
Yeah, I mean, I have been watching more movies than I think I've ever watched in my whole life. Like,
oh my God, same.
I had to edit some movie discussion out of this podcast for fear of it never ending. Yeah. I watched Videodrome. That's a weird fucking movie.
Oh, Videodrome's so fun.
Yeah, I love David Cronenberg. Holy shit.
Yeah, that is some raw body horror.
Yep. Gotta put that gun in your chest pocket.
I don't know why, but like, you know the way his hand grew with like metal and wires? Something about that bothered me more than the stomach pulling.
Really? It's like
I don't know what it is.
You do hate machines.
Yeah.
I do hate machines.
John, I really recommend Tetsuo the Iron Man. That film's fucked up.
Cool, yeah, no.
It's a very good, like, mechanical body horror movie.
Okay. I think I'm not going to say I enjoy mechanical body horror, but I think it kind of frightens me and grosses me out in a way that not a lot of stuff does. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like, machines with organs, fuck that.
It's not good.
It's not good. But I also watched Mid-90s.
Oh, I love that film.
Oh, I hate to do it. Hate to be the one to do it. But last episode, I had to do a little intro because we forgot to do the intro.
Oh my God.
What? Oh my God. Okay.
Yes,
okay.
Yes, Niamh, good call.
Okay, Niamh, go for it.
No.
What are you talking about? People love your intros.
Yeah, it was amazing.
It's back in your hands. No, it can only be good and pure if I do it a single time. If I do it every time, then, you know, it's not a surprise.
Niamh, you are all about not giving the people what they want this episode.
I'm a tease.
Yeah, you really are. She wouldn't even show her face on the call.
What a coward. Welcome to the Let's Fight a Boss video game podcast. The world's strongest video game podcast. I am sitting here with two of the most quarantined people in existence, coming to us from his bunker on the moon. It's Bryan.
They're not gonna find my moon gold up here on the moon.
And buried 30,000 feet beneath the Earth's surface, it's Niamh.
Won't find my ocean gold either.
And coming at you from a perfectly level apartment, it's John.
Got any gold?
You know what? There's certain things I'll discuss on this podcast and certain things I won't.
That means he doesn't.
We're what? Week 5 into the quarantine?
Yeah.
There's numbers still exist somehow, but I'm not counting.
Since we spoke, we've gone into 3 extra weeks of not a lockdown.
Yes.
Yeah. So I feel like, you know, all the like kind of silver linings of this quarantine, like having the time to like consume a lot of media and learn new skills. I kind of feel like I've been through all that, and now I just fucking hate this with every fiber of my being.
Same.
Like, this was not a good week.
No.
I really need. I just really need to fight someone.
I don't know what it feels like to have the need to slam your body against another man's body. But I do understand how much you miss it.
I think I remember feeling this way before I took it up, and I remember being like this all the time, and man, not fun to be, and I bet not fun to be around.
You just want to wail on a fool.
I just fucking just tense and can't get rid of it. It sucks. How are you guys doing?
I'm okay. I'm overthinking everything. That's not good. Don't do that. I think everyone feels the exact same way, but at the same time, you're lost in your own head, and it's not helping.
Yeah, it's like sometimes I find myself drift off into the absurdity of it all. Like I'll be washing dishes, and then an hour will pass because I just like stopped in the middle of it and started looking into the middle distance.
Oh my god, same. I keep getting distracted by tiny things, so I'm doing like 10 things at once, all very slowly, and I'll get one of them like done.
Yep.
And there's like, I'm trying to be as productive as I can, and my productivity is so low right now because I just don't have the concentration.
We just have to get rid of the idea of that productivity is like something that can happen during this. Like maybe for some people it can, but like, I don't know, you see people online and they're just like, I'm going to learn a new language, or I've like done this art project I've always wanted to do. And you're just like, fuck you.
For me, it's like I have the energy to do things, but the creativity to actually sculpt it just feels like it's not there. Like getting creative about stuff or like doing something interesting, I feel like it's so hard to get like inspired and motivated when 99% of your life is the same 4 rooms.
It is, yeah. I really, really do appreciate this podcast. Like right now I do feel a lot more motivated, which is great. This is probably the most I've spoken in an hour.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah.
I know we've just started recording, but you know, just the warm up beforehand. It's very good because you really do run out of the same things to say to your partner, and because you don't have any news.
That's one of the worst parts when like you phone someone up and it's like, any news?
No.
Just gotta start inventing news.
Like some sort of fake news.
No, that's chaotic in a bad way. Like gentle chaos.
Gentle chaos. The Niamh story.
So like news about butterflies and how they and how they know how to hum songs to each other. Did you know that?
They can hum songs. Is that actually true, Bryan? Or are you just lying to me?
I'm lying. That's a lie.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
I ate my own medicine.
How many episodes of this podcast have we done and you fell for that?
I love telling lies.
Bryan is a world-class liar.
Yeah. It's my favorite thing to do.
I really wanted to believe that. That was kind of beautiful, but no.
I really think that's how vulnerable we are now. We're just like anything anyone says, we're like, okay. If you say so.
Strange times. So guys, I saw mid-90s.
Oh yeah, I love that film.
Yeah. What a fucking great hour and a half. I can't believe there's a character called either shit fuck or fuck shit.
I can't remember. He's great, that dude.
Yeah, it was so good. It's about this kid growing up in the
early
mid-90s.
2000s.
Yeah, early 2000s. You nailed it, Niamh. And he like gets in with a crowd of bad skater kids, but they're not that bad. And it's
right.
like just this real like interesting summer of his life and him kind of slowly moving up the social ranking and like past other kids who then get angry at him. And oh man, it was so fucking good. A real just, the film did not waste your time at all. And it was one of those moments where like you get to the end credits and it's like, if the film ended now, it would be perfect. And then it just ends and you're like, thank you for not wasting my time. Have either of you guys seen this movie?
Yeah.
Brian has. I haven't.
I love this movie.
He talked about it on this very podcast.
Yeah, I talked about it a year ago.
So.
It's one of my favorite movies.
And I was like,
year.
oh man, I got to watch that movie. And here we are a year later, and it took a national pandemic. But it was cool. I thought it was basically like the boy version of 13, like exact same vibe.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh really? Is it that kind of fucked up?
There's some fucked up shit in this movie.
Yeah. I think teenage girls and boys can be destructive in maybe slightly different ways, and I think both these films kind of capture that. And it was super fun. Brian, you watched the final season of Modern Family.
Yes, I did. It just ended. That show originally started airing in 2009 and it wrapped up in 2020. So it ran for 10 and a half years, 11 years. That is
Jesus.
Crazy. It's always been a show that I watched. I don't think it's been as good as it used to be, but it never like got super bad or terrible or anything. And I always just put it on just because it's half an hour long. It's really easy to watch. And I'm sorry to see that show go. I really enjoyed it.
That's the good seasons of that are like such good sitcom.
Yeah. That show, like, it was such a different time for television when that show came out in 2009 because, like, The Office was still going, Parks and Recreation was also still going, so there was a lot of, like, mockumentary TV shows that it was competing against, but I think that's kind of one of the last mockumentary kind of comedy TV shows that's kind of done now.
Yeah, totally.
Because you know the way, like, it was film mockumentary style, but then it had the confession cam bits as well, you know, where they would be, you know, talking about it after the fact or out of context. And like, I know shows like Curb Your Enthusiasm and Always Sunny are kind of shot very loose documentary style as well, but they never did that, and it was more just kind of more of a production thing than like a believability thing. And I know with Arrested Development, then that just had like, that was also another documentary comedy show, but that had like a narrator the entire time that was disconnected from everything. Whereas I think Modern Family is kind of like a mishmash of all those different styles. And like I really enjoyed the last couple episodes. And it's so weird to just like watch a show like that, and like especially the younger cast, the kids, like they're all fantastic, and they were really, really well cast as kids. And
yeah, they were so funny as kids, like, and that's so, I think that's something that's so difficult with sitcoms, kids with like good comic timing.
Yeah.
But they were all like fantastic.
In the last seasons, especially the new kid Joe, who's Jay and Gloria's son, who's only like 5 or 6, he's really, really funny. There's a really good there's a really good joke in the last season where, like, I think he asked Manny or Jay to go to the shop for him to get him some sweets or get him some candy, but he gives him a $50 bill, and they're like, "Where'd you get a $50 bill?" And he's like, "That's not for any that's not any of your business. That's not anything you need to know about." It's a weird kid. I really like like Haley's boyfriend, or well, husband eventually, Dylan. Like, that guy,
he's so good. I love Dylan.
He's really, really good in the last season. I think the core cast definitely felt a bit more tired with the show. I think they're happy to see it kind of done and dusted.
Yeah, there was definitely like parts of later seasons I saw where it's like, these are all very talented actors going through the motions.
And it was such, like I like I think my favorite couple were Cam and Mitch, just because I really, really, really like Mitch. I think he's so fucking funny. But then Cam really, really reminds me of my dad. And I think they were the funniest out of the parent couples of the tree.
Yeah.
Like, I really, really like Phil and Claire as well. I think Phil is so fucking funny.
Phil's brilliant.
I do like Jay and Gloria as well, but they're probably my, like, I was never like as hyped about those two or about that couple.
I think those two are more fun when they're interacting with the other cast members.
Yeah.
Like Phil and Jay is great.
Oh yeah.
And then Gloria and oh god, Phil's wife, what's
Claire.
her name? Claire. Gloria and Claire can be pretty funny.
Yeah, it is. But definitely this season, you could tell that a lot of the actors weren't around for the same days of shooting, or they wrote scripts in which, like, a lot of them weren't, like, in the episodes. But it was nice in the last 2 episodes to just have everyone in the same room.
Yeah. How did you feel? Like, was it a satisfying and final episode?
Like, I wouldn't call it satisfying, but at the same time, it wasn't, like, disappointing. I think what kind of, like, so, like, they wrapped up filming that show back in February because it's such a very quick show to make, and it's kind of weird to watch it now because it feels like you're watching an alternate universe where the coronavirus never happened. And
oh, that's so weird.
Because, like, in the last episode, they're all kind of making plans for the next part of their lives. They're moving to different towns, or, you know, they're moving out of their homes. And, like, that's not a thing. And, like you know how there's a lot of people who are probably making lots of new plans at the beginning of this decade that are now, they can't do. They're halted. And so it's kind of weird to, like, see that disconnection between, like, where we are now in the real world and this imaginary world where that didn't happen.
Yeah.
I wonder how many pieces of media something like this will be written into, because this is such a cultural touchstone for, I guess, humanity.
Yeah.
In so many ways, will we watch pieces of media in the future and it was just like, well, they don't have the virus panic, so this isn't believable at all. Or, thank God they didn't include the virus panic. I'm so sick of media that has that.
Do you know,
the only other thing I can think of like this is like something like a 9/11, where like it kind of changed the way people approached media in a lot of ways.
For sure. Yeah. Especially shows that take place in New York, because, like, I know in Friends that takes place in a reality where 9/11 never happened. But I know,
really?
But I know shows like West Wing, which would have also aired around the same time, had a fictional 9/11 event that was similar, and it was kind of like the president, like, you know, their version of the president reacting to that event. So, like, it does get used, but, like, in indirect ways. So I think there will be, like, a non-version of the virus being explored in media. It has to be.
That's going to be interesting.
I haven't watched that show in a while. It is kind of a little sad to see it end, because I think it did become such a mainstay of sitcoms.
Yeah, it did.
Like, when I think of sitcoms of this era, that stands out as one of the biggest.
Yeah, no,
maybe even like the biggest.
And it survived the whole decade. And, like, I can remember watching that in college.
Yeah, totally.
It's so and, like, I was such a different person back then, but, like, the characters in that show were different people as well. So it's cool to, like, grow up with fictional characters, because you know, when you watch, like, animation like The Simpsons or something, they always stay the same age. But I think it's nice to watch a show with kids or young adults, and you're a young adult, and they kind of learn, and, well, not learn, but you know, like, I guess there's episodes that stick out to you in your life where you had different key events around you happening. I think that's really cool.
I do. I love that as well. I think, like, that long form character thing is really interesting, even from an acting perspective. Like, you know, someone getting into acting and then getting into a sitcom and then will you spend 7 years or so with a character and like grow like physically up with that character, or will you do individual stuff? And it, like, I wonder if it's a trait that some people would really love to do, that long form acting, and it's a thing that other people would be like, I never want to get stuck doing long form to that degree.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's interesting because there's one episode where Phil gets left home with the kids. And he turns just into this, like, at first he's like, you know, the real fun dad, but then they start like pushing it too far and he just turns into like an absolute villain. And after watching that episode, I was like, I bet this dude really wants to play a villain because he did it so well. But it was only that one episode, and the rest of it, you know, the rest of it, he's like the goofy dad.
Have you watched the Zack Snyder Dawn of the Dead movie?
Yeah.
Yes, like years ago.
Okay, you should watch it again because Phil Dunphy plays an asshole in it.
I bet he could.
He's very good in that film. I really like that. I really hope all those I really like Ed O'Neill because he used to play Al Bundy in Married with Children. It's so weird to see him like be two sitcom dads in two completely different kinds of shows.
Yeah, and I think that's like the kind of a testament to Modern Family, the fact that he's now Phil from Modern Family to me, or not Phil, I'm totally blanking on him. Jay, instead of Al Bundy. Al from they're two completely different guys. I really, really hope all the actors get to do other stuff. I will miss this show. It was really fun. Yeah, there was definitely a time in my life where like I really, really loved that show, and it's sad to see it end, but I mean, yeah, hopefully they all move on to better things. Guys, I read When I Arrived at the Castle by Emily Carroll.
What's this?
Oh, this is great.
I loved this. Someone gave it to me as a present at MagFest on one of the panels, and I only got around to reading it now. It's a comic book, and it's pretty much a girl arrives at a spooky castle, and she's there to kill the owner of the castle, who is this like beautiful vampire lady. And it's not a long comic. I'd say it's maybe 30 or 40 pages, but it's absolutely beautiful. And like, I say comic book, and there are like panels in it, but it nearly unfolds more like, I don't know,
a graphic novel.
Yeah, but like, when I say graphic novel, that doesn't imply no panels, you know what I mean? It's like a lot of the pages, like they just have a lot of fun with the layouts and like the way they kind of flow, and they actually do something really interesting and get some really good horror out of it. Like, some of the layouts are so frightening. There's one section where the girl is looking through a keyhole at the vampire, and they get like two, I don't want to spoil it, but they get like two amazing scares out of that. And that's not something I see like Western comic books do a lot. And it's like, she's like, this vampire is a real like seductress vampire, and there's this real like interesting tension where the girl's like getting kind of drawn into her charms, but then she's also really frightened of her. And the imagery goes from like really like beautiful to just absolutely horrifying.
Oh no.
And I loved it. Like, I was entranced. You've read it, Niamh.
Yeah, I have. Kind of gay vampires. It's up my alley.
Yep. I was like,
I love how it looks.
I was like, I'm going to recommend this to Niamh, but then I was like, I'd bet money she's already read it.
Yeah, I really love the limited palette. Like, it's black, white, and red, isn't it? It's pretty good.
Just a really, really good read, and I'd super recommend it to anyone. But yeah, I really want to read some of her other stuff now. Bryan, tell us about the final season of Homeland.
Okay, this is still airing. I think there's like 1 or 2 episodes left, but Homeland is another TV series that's been going on for the better part of a decade. I think that started in 2011, starring Claire Danes as... Well, she was a CIA agent. Now she's not anymore. Now she's like a rogue citizen. But each season deals with her trying to kind of stop a terrorism act from happening. Or if a terrorism act has happened, it's her stopping it from becoming a global catastrophe. And it's a really, really good, tense action thriller television series that isn't on every year. But when it's on, I'm so fucking hyped for it. I love Homeland so much. This season's super cool because in the last season, she was taken as a political prisoner in a Russian gulag, and she didn't have her because she's bipolar. She didn't have her medicine, and she was a prisoner there for like 6 months, and she lost her mind and she doesn't remember anything about it. And when they recovered her back from a political trade-off, she wasn't the same person she was. And this season is her kind of dealing with, she thinks she might be a compromised agent, and she's kind of like her own unreliable narrator all of a sudden. But that kind of like comes back into the original season with the character Nicholas Brody, season, where there was a soldier who'd been missing for years, and when he came back, she had a suspicion that he was a compromised, turned terrorist.
Is this the last season, Bryan?
Yeah. And
this seems like a great wraparound for that.
It really is. But like the thing is, it doesn't really feel like the last season because they're not like they're tying up some loose ends, but like it really feels like they're focused in on this season and not like thinking about like the legacy of the show, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And because there's only 2 episodes, I don't know how they're gonna like wrap up, you know, the main thread of this season, but also kind of wrapping up her character Carrie Matheson and the cast. And like a lot of the cast of the show has changed. The only like character who's been in it every season is Mandy Patkinon's character Saul, who was kind of like her senior kind of like I don't know the word. I'm just gonna say senpai. Handler, yeah. And their relationship where like he's always trusted her, but this season he doesn't trust her at all, which is really cool. And like it's really hard to tell like because she still is focused and determined, but it's hard to tell like whose side she's on or who she trusts, because she doesn't trust anyone, not even herself. So good.
This makes me want to go back to it because I watched a lot of Homeland, but I dropped off somewhere halfway and I never got back into it. But if there's anything I love, it's Claire Danes acting, grappling with her bipolar, because she does it so well.
Oh yeah,
she's such an amazing actress.
Like her range with her facial expressions and everything, like she's not afraid to do like a messy cry, which I love with actors.
Yeah, she's the ugliest crier and it's amazing.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Temple Grandin? The
Yes, Bryan, I love this movie.
Yeah, Temple Grandin's so good. That was a HBO made for TV movie that she made in like 2010 or maybe 2011, just before Homeland, because Homeland's on Showtime. I
think it's one of the best depictions of a real person ever. If you look up Temple Grandin afterwards, the real like autistic woman, and just see what she's like, and then see Claire Danes' portrayal, like it's just perfect.
Yeah, because she's still alive, isn't she? The real woman.
Yeah.
She
writes a lot of books on autism.
Wow. Yeah, because like that's such a specific movie to make about a woman who like shows you how to funnel cows into corrals correctly.
Yep.
John. It's good stuff.
She basically, she kind of changed the abattoir system, like the way cows are killed for a more humane way, in something that can truly not really be humane, but you know. Yeah,
but it's such a...
Sounds like quite a lady.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's
but it's kind of like using, like, she's like an autistic woman and she's kind of using like her autistic brain to solve problems that people couldn't even see existing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
And she really, really likes cows.
She loves cows.
Don't we all? Niamh, tell us about The Ring. Okay,
I had a feeling that I'll just watch The Ring. Like, you know, that wasn't that long ago, kind of prestige horror. You know, we're in this kind of new era of really amazing horror. And I was just like, The Ring was that in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
You know? So this came out in 2002 and it has like Naomi Watts in it as well. So it's kind of like a big name actress in a genre movie. And it holds up super, super well. And I presume everyone's seen The Ring here.
Yeah, I love The Ring.
I've never seen the American version.
It's fantastic.
What? John, you need to. It's very good.
Sorry, I'm a kind of aficionado for the culture of Nippon, personally.
John really likes Ringu.
I actually don't. I think, like, it's got some cool moments, but that is a slow fucking movie.
Yeah, it really is. What's fun about The Ring is it's not just a horror film, it's kind of a horror detective film. So it's not just someone being horribly haunted, it's someone being horribly haunted while trying to actively figure out what the haunting is. So Naomi Watts is a reporter for a newspaper, and her cousin, it's her cousin?
Yeah.
No, it's her sister's daughter.
Okay.
Dies suddenly after watching a videotape and getting a call telling her she'll die in 7 days. And her mom asks if she can kind of look into what happened to her death. And in the course of that, Naomi Watts' character watches the cursed video and knows that she's in trouble. So the video is a whole pile of like freaky scenes all strung together.
I love the video itself. It's so good.
It holds up, Bryan. It's still like, there's still a few bits in it where I'm like, ew. I think the only downside of this movie today in playing to a modern audience is kind of the sound design. It really gives away its scares. Like, that's the most aged part of it.
So do they do the kind of stuff like a scare is about to happen and they'll like do a music cue before it?
Exactly.
Yeah, that sucks.
You know exactly when it's going to happen, and the color grading is all that really greeny blue, so everyone looks really washed out and sad.
There's a lot
colors.
of movies from that period that look like that.
Yeah. So I think if someone recolor graded it and like edited the sound design, it would nearly just hold up as a really good horror today. Like, it still holds up, but it's those two things that really put it in 2002. And they do another thing as well, like it'll be something from the video, so she'll see a ladder against the wall, and then later on she'll be walking by and she'll walk under a ladder, and you're like, oh, it's the ladder from the video, and then the movie very helpfully cuts to the shot from the video.
Oh, nice.
You're like,
thank you. Thanks for the spoon feeding.
Yeah,
so
and you're like, thanks, movie.
That's a real Insidious 2. So that's what that was all about.
Yeah, I hate when movies do that.
And it's so like it's so unnecessary, because the one thing she's doing is investigating the very specific video with the very specific imagery. Like, you don't need that at all. But
you
other
know,
than
like
those things,
some editor was putting his heart and soul into that movie, and someone was just like, "There's fucking kids. They don't understand. Put the shot in. Put the shot in." And he was like, "Yes, boss."
Sure.
And it's every single time. It's for everything.
Oh, that's terrible. No.
All subtlety is gone. The person who directed that is Gore Verbinski, who went on to direct all the Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
What?
I know, right?
Wow.
I really like the CGI in this movie. I think like it's really clever with its special effects, and the VHS effects on Samara are really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it holds up. It still looks pretty great.
Have you watched?
So I think
No, go on.
I was just going to say, I think people should give The Ring another watch. Just for funsies.
Have you watched The Ring 2 or Rings?
No, I have not.
The Ring 2 isn't very good. Rings is terrible. Rings came out like 2 years ago. That film fucking sucks.
That's a really bad name for a movie. Yeah. Like, I get how Aliens is a really great sequel name for Alien, but like the idea of multiple rings isn't really very frightening. Okay.
Especially when it comes after Ring 2. Like, if it was just Ring and then Rings, maybe, but Ring 2 and then Rings, it's kind of
yeah.
Okay, so the third Rings movie has a bit where the film opens with two characters on an airplane, like just like a big giant airplane, and they're sitting in their chairs, and one of them talks about how they watched the video 7 days, and then she comes out of the screen of the airplane and attacks, and the airplane crashes because everyone dies.
That's kind of amazing.
I love how Samara could technically go on holidays by haunting a person who's like going to like.
Do you think she came out of the screen and like was like, oh shit? Because like, how would she know?
She wouldn't know. Yeah. She's just ready to go.
Did you guys? Oh, sorry, Brian. Go on.
No, this film isn't very good, but it does an interesting job of exploring like the limits and possibilities of the curse that is the ring. Because there's a bit later on where there's like loads of college students and they're copying the VHS to a digital format to upload to YouTube to see if that would work. And it's like, are you trying to break your own film? What are you doing, guys?
Yes. But how do you make something like the ring work in like today? Like in the ring, they need to make physical copies like of a VHS.
Yeah.
How do you do that today? It's an interesting conundrum that I don't think they quite solved with rings.
No, that's not a successful film. I don't recommend it unless you're like, it's the real bottom of the barrel.
Is it fun as like?
No, it's not a fun movie.
Bad. It's just bad.
It's a shit movie.
Okay. Did you guys ever see Scary Movie 3?
Yeah, I think that's my favorite one.
Oh, that's the bad one.
No, the fourth one is the bad one.
No. Oh, okay. Well, Scary Movie 1 and 2 are the good ones.
They're not good movies.
They're all great except for the fourth one.
I'm happy to correct your opinion on that one, Niamh.
It's okay. Honestly, they probably don't need to exist. You know, Scream was its own satire, but Scary Movie 1 and 2.
No, but I remember actually like enjoying Scary Movie 3, and I also the like scary move, like the scary videotape in Scary Movie 3 is actually like weird and frightening in a like really goofy way. But that's all I had to say about that. So Niamh, Ring holds up.
Yeah, Ring holds up. Maybe might be a fun editing project for someone who wants to make the Ring viable in 2020. Like
a slightly better movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, the little boy actor in it is fun. He rides the line between being an annoying little child in a horror movie and being kind of a little weirdo, so he's very endearing.
He really reminds me of the kid in The Shining, Danny.
Yeah.
Because he's meant to be kind of very disconnected from what's going on, and he's sort of psychic as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he's the right side of kooky.
Yeah.
The right side of kooky.
A weird kid.
Niamh, Bryan, sorry, God. TLC YouTube channel trapped in a 90-day fiance hole.
Yes, that is exactly what this is. Okay, this isn't only happening to me, but you're on YouTube, right, and you're getting recommended stuff out of context, and you see these thumbnails, and you're like, oh my God. And then you click them, and then you watch the video, which I'll get to. But then you scroll down to the comments afterwards, and everyone is like, are you here for the same reason? Like, why are we all watching this?
Oh, I love when you see that. And like the thumbnail is like a penguin and it has like 16 million views.
Yeah, and you're like, I'm here at 3 a.m. watching this shit. Who's with me? And everyone's giving it a thumbs up. I love that. I think this is one of the nice things about this quarantine situation everyone's in, that like it really kind of makes the world feel smaller, that everyone is being recommended the same weird, strange videos on the internet because of that weird algorithm. I am familiar with the television show 90 Day Fiance, but TLC have a YouTube channel, obviously, to promote the actual television channel. But they have like 3-minute clips of 90 Day Fiance, and this is probably a good way to watch that show if you don't have the you really need to have a personal limit.
Yeah,
above
like
that limit.
It really chips away at my cringe stamina.
Yes.
I can't take it.
So I do appreciate that TLC has distilled it into 3-minute clips, but the ones I wanted to talk about, and people probably know I'm going to be talking about it, is Big Ed and Rosemary. And holy shit. The character Ed, I'm going to say character because it's reality TV, and reality TV is not reality. What the fuck is going on with this dude?
It is quite sad, and then it's really funny because his fiance asks him to shave his beard, and it's just like, no, girl, you don't want to see him without that.
Yeah,
he needs it.
I said this to both of you. I said it to John, and he was like, "Oh no!" To me, I'm more fascinated by the fact that everyone is like not everyone, I guess, but there's other people out there who are getting recommended these videos out of context as well.
Bryan, you should take a little stroll over to How to Train Your Dog. Oh God, what's her name? I'm blanking. Dog trainer woman. Virginia.
Okay. The only guy I know is Cesar Milan from like 10 years ago.
No, he's the one. He's chaotic. There's a better one.
There's a better one.
I'm just blanking on her name because I have quarantine fog.
It's okay, us too. We got those awkward pauses built up. John, are you with us?
I am with you.
Victoria. Oh, Victoria Stillwell.
Okay. And she's another kind of YouTube hole you can fall into.
It's Mir the dog. If you go onto that that YouTube channel, I'm playing her out loud, sorry. Every comment is just like talking about the episode, but also like, is everyone here at like 3 a.m.?
Yeah.
It's one of those things. It's very good. It's a nice community because it's about like, you know, trying to improve a dog's life rather than like some like weirdo man from America buying a woman because she's in a financially horrible situation.
Yes.
So if you want that community that isn't kind of low-key fucked, well, the content isn't fucked.
The one fun thing they're doing with this 90 Day Fiance season, I guess, is that the affluent American is going to the developing nation, so they're really pushing the fish out of water. So it's him like trying to feed pigs and him trying to shower, and he's just not able to do anything without his, you know, Californian comfort. You just have to see these clips. This dude is fucking weird. I don't know what the hell is going on.
Bryan, sounds like a time.
It is. It is an absolute YouTube hole, and I'm gonna hang out in here for a little bit longer.
Guys, it's Wrestle Talk.
No.
Here we go again.
That's you. I was thinking about it. You guys are so mean, and every time I do it, you're always like, "Oh, that was all right," but you just mean people.
Look.
John, you did insert a section into the podcast that no one okayed.
That is
That is fair.
Yeah,
that is fair. Okay, I withdraw my complaint.
I really enjoy not enjoying it at the beginning and then being like, yeah, wrestling's alright, but maybe not this time. John, what's happening in wrestling?
Let me tell you, Bryan. WrestleMania, the big one, the showcase of the Immortals. It's here.
Oh yeah?
This was a very strange WrestleMania because it's in front of an empty arena, and I have to say, like, there was something just a little bit heartbreaking about tuning into WrestleMania, which is always this massive spectacle, and seeing it on in the tiny performance center to no audience. And like, there was just a point at the start of it where I was like, this makes me sad in a way that nothing else has yet, you know, because it's such a oh shit, this is the way the world is right now. But what really like counterbalanced it is I thought all the wrestlers, they gave it like absolute hell. Like, it didn't matter that they were performing in front of an empty arena. They did such an amazing job, and there were so many great matches. There's one match in particular I want to talk about, but like, there was some like Charlotte versus Rhea Ripley. There's this like new up and coming NXT Women's Champ called Rhea Ripley. You guys should look her up. She's amazing. You'd love her, Niamh.
Okay.
Her and Charlotte had an absolute fucking barn burner of a match. It was brilliant. Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins had a really, really great match. The TLC match was incredible. Like, it's such a shame because this to me was the best WrestleMania in years. Like, just the level of match quality was amazing. But there were two matches that really stood out. And one was the Boneyard match. And this was AJ Styles versus The Undertaker. But everyone was like, what the fuck is a Boneyard match? Because like, no one's ever heard of that before. And then it turns out what it is this cinematic match. It's like a short film. That's what it was like, where AJ Styles shows up at a graveyard to fight The Undertaker, and they're both trying to bury each other.
That's such a good idea.
It's all shot and filmed like a fight scene from a movie. And what was amazing about this is, like, Undertaker's old. He's beat up. He's had an amazing career. He cannot do it anymore. Him versus Goldberg was one of the scariest matches I've ever seen, just because they constantly felt within seconds of ending each other's careers because of a botch. You know, their bodies just can't really do it anymore. But like with the Boneyard match, you can just edit all that out. Like you can give Undertaker a rest. You can start fresh. And this was the most like powerful and imposing the Undertaker has felt in forever, you know? And it was amazing, and it was so great. And the idea that like now there's this new format that old wrestlers who maybe can't really go in the ring like they once could can still like be their characters and be safe, it's amazing, you know? And I absolutely loved it. But the real treat for me at WrestleMania, and I think a lot of people, was the Firefly Funhouse match. So I've been talking a fair bit on this podcast about Bray Wyatt and his new character, The Fiend, and the Firefly Funhouse, where he's like, you know, a demented children's host. He ran into trouble recently because, well, not trouble, but basically he got jobbed out to Goldberg, which was just such a... why?
Lame.
But then he shows up and he challenges John Cena at WrestleMania. And this match has some significance because basically the way WWE have framed it is that like 5 years ago, John Cena and Bray Wyatt had a match at WrestleMania. And it was really like when Bray was at his absolute hottest. And it was it was a really great match. It had all these spooky elements where like the crowd loves Bray Wyatt so much, and he would knock John Cena down and then start like singing He's Got the Whole World in His Hand, and then 30,000 people in the arena all start singing it with him, and John Cena just stands up and looks around him, and it's this real like what the fuck is going on moments. And that whole match was about Bray Wyatt trying to get John Cena to kill him because he wanted to bring John Cena to the dark side. Really dumb, but really good, like, hokey wrestling. But that's not what happened. John Cena fought fair and square, and he won. But WWE kind of frames that match as the point that Bray Wyatt's career started to go downhill, to the point that he stopped being on television, to the point that he went crazy and become the Fiend. In actuality, it's just that they never had much faith in Bray Wyatt and they never gave him the push he needed. That's why. But it was interesting to take that match from 5 years ago and bring it back and be like, you broke me, John. Now I'm going to break you, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that brings us up to modern day, and this was the promo I linked you guys a while back where it's the two of them in an empty arena.
The one that looks like a dress rehearsal.
Yes. And it's the part where John Cena called Bray Wyatt and The Fiend the most overhyped, overvalued, overprivileged wrestler in the history of wrestling.
From John Cena?
Yep. So, anyway, we get there. John Cena comes out into the empty arena, and then it cuts, and he looks around, and he's in the Firefly Funhouse. He's been brought into an alternate reality, and he starts talking to Bray Wyatt's puppets, and they're all like, John, you gotta be careful, the Fiend's around, you gotta be careful, John. And then it cuts again, and we go back to John Cena's first ever match. And John Cena comes out in the same wrestling gear, the same look and the same promo, which was disastrous. It went down really badly and he got buried by Kurt Angle. This was before he was a big deal. But this time it's Bray Wyatt that buries him. So it's basically like we went back in time to that match and Bray Wyatt beats him in that match. Then we go back even further to the golden age of wrestling, the Hulk Hogan age of wrestling, and John Cena and Bray Wyatt are there and they do like a promo from that era, and John Cena can't stop lifting weights. And they keep cutting and they keep speeding him up, so he's doing like an insane amount of weights. And this had all like the energy of like a surreal Tim and Eric bit. It was fucking insane.
I was gonna say, it kind of sounds like a Buffy episode.
Yeah, the Buffy Dream episodes, that's what this was.
Yeah.
But like
so cool.
Produced to the same level of quality. Like it was hokey in the same way wrestling's hokey, but it was good, you know? And so then they start messing with John Cena's character in all these different ways. like they do an imaginary promo where John Cena comes out in an NWO shirt and turns heel, and John Cena's never turned heel, but it's been the thing people have wanted forever because they think he'd be such a good heel because people kind of hate him already. And they start like just dissecting his character in these really weird and personal ways. Like there's this one bit where John Cena's like on-screen partner for a long time was Nikki Bella, and that was in real life as well. They had the reality TV shows, they were on that the whole time, they were with each other for years. He proposed to her at WrestleMania. They broke up in the last 2 years, and Nikki Bella's theme song starts with the words "You can look, but you can't touch." There's one part where Bray Wyatt walks up into John Cena's face, wags his finger, and goes, "You can look, but you can't touch." Like, and that's like referencing his real life divorce.
Uh-oh.
And it was so fucking interesting. And it was this just roller coaster of all these insane parts of John, like really like deconstructing him as a character.
Yeah, real deep cuts here.
Like to the point that if you didn't know John Cena's history, I think this match would be very puzzling for you. But that said, like Michelle watched this match for me and she was like, this is fucking cool, you know? But anyway, it keeps moving forward in time until we get to the match 5 years ago. And it goes back to the moment when like Bray Wyatt throws John Cena the chair and wants him to take it out. He gets down on his knees and he's like, "Do it, John, do it." And then John Cena, instead of not swinging, actually swings. But the camera cuts and he's in an empty ring by himself. Then the Fiend appears and beats the shit out of John Cena. And then he grabs him in the Sister Abigail, which is the Fiend's finishing move. And the camera does a close-up on John Cena and you hear the words echo. The most overhyped, overvalued, overprivileged wrestler on the planet. Bray Wyatt gives him the Sister Abigail, gives him the mandible claw, and then stands in the ring looking at him. And the camera cuts and John Cena's gone. He's deleted from history.
Whoa.
What? So he didn't even fight him? They delete him?
Like, literally, okay, so picture like a locked off camera shot of just Bray Wyatt standing in the ring, and then just John Cena just disappears in a cut. Like, they don't hide it.
That's insane.
Niamh, the whole match was fucking insane. Like, the craziest shit I have ever seen in wrestling. Like, even more so than I think like the final deletion, which is a whole other thing. And I thought this was absolutely fucking brilliant. I thought this was like wrestling in a way that has never existed. Like, well, no, it has. Like, stuff like the final deletion has done stuff like this, but this was so clever and so like it genuinely had things to say about John Cena's career and his character and his trajectory, and tying that into what he did to Bray 5 years ago. Honestly, fucking beautiful. Like, just incredible. And I was just like, oh my god, like I have loved wrestling my entire life. Nothing's ever made me feel like this. And it was, I would say, even if people don't give a shit about wrestling, you should try and track this down, because it is it's just something else, you know?
I have 3 questions.
Go for it.
Okay. First question is, now that John Cena's deleted, what the fuck are they gonna do? Is he gonna have to like destine his way out of like the digital world? Is he dead? Like, what? How are they gonna fix this? Because this was really cool.
He hasn't appeared on WWE programming since.
Oh my god.
Can I torrent John Cena? Like, is he in
probably on the dark web.
A Silent Hill, or is he in like digital space?
Niamh, I really didn't want to get into this, but I have this little USB drive next to me, and a lot of talents on that USB drive is all I'll say.
Oh.
Whoa.
Leave that out of medieval times.
Whoa, that's a deep cut for the boss cast.
Okay, second question Do you ever get to know what, like, say, really good pieces of writing in WWE and stuff? Do you ever get to know who the mastermind is behind this? Like, is there a writer that is to thank for this crazy piece of art?
Yeah, it seems like this had a lot of pre-production.
Sometimes what you get is years later on a wrestling podcast, someone will reveal how it's done. But my guess is this probably had a lot to do with Bray Wyatt, because he's Bray Wyatt, basically he kind of disappeared from WWE for a long time, and during that time, he wouldn't even speak to any of his friends from WWE. This is real life. He just went completely silent. No one knew what he was doing, where he was at, and then when he was back, he was like, I have this new character, The Fiend. And then he worked.
It's cool.
Yep, it's amazing. It's the best shit that wrestling has done in the longest time, and for a WWE for a WrestleMania that could have been just so limp and so disastrous, the match quality was so high, but I felt like they genuinely pushed it to heights that they've never been at before. I've never seen WWE something this poignant and this creative, and it was beautiful. It was just, I could go on about it for a while. Did you have a third question, Niamh?
Yes, third question is, two of your favorite matches this time was basically turning wrestling into a TV show.
Yep.
Do you think there is a future with the WWE where live audience matches go away and it becomes more of a serialized show, or do you think they make just too much money from those live events? I think they make too much money from those live events, but I also think the culture of wrestling is so dependent on the audience. The way Vince McMahon knows a storyline is working is that the audience are going fucking insane for it. They don't, that's the rawest feedback they have, and wrestling is so reliant on that. And there's so many wrestlers whose gimmicks are reliant on that. You know what I mean? When you take the crowd out of certain moves, they don't work anymore,
Yeah, I saw that a bunch of wrestlers had to be let go from WWE.
Yeah, I'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
And then on top of that as well, I think these cinematic matches are amazing, but these need to be special features. These need to be a couple of times a year, maybe even once or twice a year, and that's it.
Yeah.
But what's really exciting is there's a couple of dream matches people have that just can't happen anymore. The one that people always feel like they missed is Sting versus The Undertaker. And that was never really possible before, and now something like this could be perfect for it. Unfortunately, it's also a very tough time in wrestling. This last Wednesday we had what a lot of people are calling Black Wednesday, where a huge number of wrestlers got let go. Some really, really talented people as well. Rusev, Sarah Logan, and just the videos some of these wrestlers have put out about this was their dream and it's kind of over now, kind of because of the COVID-19 situation, have just been absolutely heartbreaking. There's one by Drake Maverick, who's this really, really talented wrestler who never really got his shot. He's been let go, and just watching this super nice, talented dude's heart breaking over it was just terrible. And there's nothing you can say to something like that, because for a lot of these people, this is their dream, and a lot of them, they just got let go. And it's not even just wrestlers. A lot of production staff have gotten let go. A lot of, people behind the cameras, and you just have to feel awful for them. And I know this is happening every industry in the world right now, and it's hard, but it's just, I guess just personally for me, there was something especially tragic about just seeing these big public personas kind of, well, no, that's not true. That's a shitty thing to say. It's just sad. It just sucks that so many people all over the world are losing their jobs, and heart really goes out to anyone going through that.
Yeah, it's really tough to see it in all levels.
Yeah.
From someone to someone you don't know to someone just to see how it really affects. Yeah, it's really tough.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there's that side of it as well. But it was a great WrestleMania, and I kind of think fuck WWE a little bit, because they do have
that's really shitty.
They have recently reported reserves of $500 million, and also they're set to make a profit this year despite everything. And I just kind of feel like, for fuck's sake, like, come on.
Especially if they just put on a good show at WrestleMania, because like to me that's what confused me. That like I thought the show wasn't successful, but it seems like they really leaned into the situation and
it was a very good show, and that's down to the wrestlers, you know. But also I like WrestleMania, I think, is usually a very profitable thing for them because, you know, they're filling not arenas, stadiums, and they're not doing that now. And like I get it, but at the same time, like, just so much talent let go, and I hope some of them find homes in AEW or, you know, happiness elsewhere, but there's no positive spin to put on it. It just sucks for these guys and these women, and I really hope they all land on their feet. Guys, let's say we move into our strategy talk.
That game came out in March 2015, and I didn't really get stuck into playing it until about April 2015, and I've a very fun relationship with that game where I didn't really enjoy it at the start, and I thought I'd wasted my money. But by the end of the month of April,
can I tell this? Can I tell the story?
Yes, do.
Because Bryan was very like careful about buying it because he didn't know if he'd like it or not. And I think, Bryan, you'd seen me play Dark Souls a couple of times, and you were like, "Not for me."
Yeah, not for Bryan.
And so he decided to invest in Bloodborne. I think because it was a time in the PS4's life cycle where there was nothing else out, right?
There was nothing there. The PS4 didn't really have a lot of games in 2014. And this was a PlayStation exclusive. I was like, okay, let's do it.
And so he gets it one Saturday afternoon, I believe.
Yep.
And I get a message from him being like, I hate this stupid game. Like, this is not for me. I'm probably going to bring this back. And like, you were upset. Like, I could tell that you were not happy.
Yeah.
But then, like, the last message you sent me in this tirade was like, but I just beat that stupid fucking boss and I kicked his ass. And I was like, oh, sounds like it might be setting in a little bit. Yeah. And you've gone on to become, like, the biggest Bloodborne fan I know.
Bloodborne... So Kirby is my favorite video game series. Bloodborne is my favorite game.
Holy shit! Wow. I didn't know that. Yeah, that's a good favorite game though.
Yeah.
I think.
No, like I've been doing a lot of introspective thinking right now. Because what else can you do? And I look deep inside myself, and
it's Bloodborne.
Bloodborne. I'm a blood boy. I still play as the same character from 2015, and I'm on New Game Plus 7 or 8 now. At this point, the game has stopped scaling, and it's still quite hard because like I do really like how they do New Game Plus and From Software games, where like all that happens is the characters just or like that you go up and so do the enemies, so it's as difficult as it is the first time around, more or less. But it was cool to play it on the 5th anniversary because there were a lot of other people playing online as well, because there's a couple of tough bosses that are just nearly impossible to beat on your own at this point, because they have such a large health pool, but so do you. But because theirs is so large, it requires you to chip away at them like 100, 200 times without missing it or them, you know, and you having to dodge them back. So some of the boss battles you actually do need someone else there online helping you in those fights. So there was plenty of people playing for the 5th anniversary, and likewise I was doing it for some other people as well, just joining in on anonymous games. I really, really enjoy that. You get insight as a reward, which I think is cool. I could beat that game in under 15 hours now.
Fuck.
The first time it took me like 50, 60 hours, and like I'm not a speedrunner or anything like that, but I can just like, I know where everything is, and I think that's so weird to like to me, I could draw a map of Yharnam more or less 1-to-1 because I just know the physical layout of the place.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's really, really cool.
And I have a particular way of playing. There's 2 bosses or 2 kind of areas that I don't actually go to. One's optional, the Nightmare Frontier. I have no interest in that place. I don't think that's a very well designed area, and the boss there is kind of disappointing. And
yeah, I beat that place, and there's things about it I thought were cool, like the giant brain eye thing.
No, that that place is Mensis. That place I actually really, really like. But the Nightmare Frontier...
What's Nightmare Frontier, then?
It looks like Mensis, but it's not as good.
Okay, alright.
And it's got the same enemies, more or less. Then there's a DLC boss that I don't enjoy fighting, but he's the optional one. That's like a lava-spewing cleric beast dude. I don't know, he's not the best. But like, the DLC bosses are really hard, especially the first boss and the last boss. But I'm able to like beat the last boss in particular. I could beat the last boss on my own, no problem now. And before, that was such a daunting thing to like consider.
Yeah.
I don't know, like it's really fun to play a game and be good at it, and the game rewards you for being good at it, I guess. That's nice. That's a good feeling.
Yeah. Bloodborne's great. I mean, I still think back. I've never gone back and beaten the Orphan of Kos, and I have to, that's my, like, on my gaming bucket list.
He's so easy to beat. He's a piece of piss.
I know, but I just think he's like a real cool design.
Oh, he's amazing. He's so hard to beat, but I could beat him because I'm amazing.
Yeah, we all very aware of that, Brian.
I have
just an amazing boy.
An amazing. I'm almost 200 hours into this game, and
fuck yeah.
I think no. Am I? I can't. No, I'm probably not that high. No. Do you know what? I'm over level 200. I think I'm 250. Cool. And my HP is over 2,000. I think it's like 2,400. I don't know. I just keep leveling up. Like, to me now, because you know how the currency in that game is blood echoes?
Yeah.
It now costs me 500,000 blood echoes to go up a level.
Right.
Which is big number.
That big number. It's big number.
Big number. That's big one.
Brian, tell us about the big numbers in Wattam.
Wattam. This is a game I saw came out. I think it came out at the end of last year, and I've been following it because it looked super cool. Looked like my kind of game. This is made by Keita Takahashi, who made the...
This is the guy who did the game about getting to Earth, stretching to the moon to save girl.
He made We Love Katamari.
Yeah, and he made another
Nobi
game.
Nobi Boy?
Remember. Yes, that's it.
Yeah, so this is his new game, Wattam, and it's normally 20 quid on the PlayStation Store. I got it on sale for a tenner. I was like, perfect. And I played a little bit of it, and visually it's amazing. I love the designs. It kind of has this really chunky, simple kind of shape character design, and you just play as a little guy who's the mayor, and I guess it's kind of like a real-time strategy sim, kind of Viva Pinata style game, if you know what I mean. Like, I don't mean the Command and Conquer way, but like the fact that you have a cursor and you're kind of selecting things on this like field.
I get you, yeah, kind of nearly point and click-ish.
Yeah, it's point and click, and you're kind of evolving the empty field to have more characters in it. And you have like and like the game keeps adding new characters, but then they need problems solved, and you have to keep adding to their tasks and kind of trying to repopulate the world.
Right.
And I like that about it, but like what's kind of turning me off about it is it really feels like it's like an interactive like screensaver.
I've heard it described as more of a toy than a game.
Yes, it feels like an art piece. Like, it feels like what's the word? It feels like an art installation.
Kind of like Everything, like one of those games.
Yeah,
or The Mountain.
Yes, and like it's definitely a fun one to do, and like it like I really do appreciate that the game has objectives and stuff, but like doesn't really motivate you that much. Like, you could kind of just chip away at it. But like, also it kind of feels like this game could have been made in dreams. Like, it doesn't feel like a full standalone game in some ways, because it's so small. Because like the game is just like I guess in relation to their space, it's like maybe like a 25 by 25 foot grid, and that's your like playground.
Okay, so the game is like, the space is small to be in?
Yeah, the space is small, and the game only takes a couple hours to beat, which is fine. Like, I love short games, but like, you're spending those 6 hours or so, you know, in that same location.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, I really, really like this game, but I'm a bit disappointed by it.
Do you think maybe you like it more than you enjoy it?
Yeah. I don't enjoy it that much, to be honest. I really, really super appreciate this game. Like, it looks amazing and it's so charming. But like, you could watch someone do a Let's Play of this and get the exact same like feeling from it.
Sure, okay, yeah.
Yeah, like, it's not really a game you play.
Yeah. But there is a game you do actually play. Mm-hmm. Niamh, tell us about how you have beaten the Resident Evil 3 remake.
Fuck yeah.
I think me and Bryan both have beaten it at this stage.
Yes, I beat it like half an hour after recording the last episode.
What about you, Niamh? I was super curious about like how far you guys were from beating it.
Yeah, pretty much the same. I think I played that evening and it was done. I did it in 2 sittings, like, because I felt like I could do it in the one, but I wanted to stretch it out a bit more and kind of get more out of it, kind of thing. So I kind of purposely put it across two sessions. I enjoyed it a lot. I really liked Jill. I really liked a lot of the boss fights in it. I still think it was a bit on the short side. And like, I know this is such a contentious thing with Resident Evil fans because like these games are kind of designed to be replayed and they're usually short. But I kind of felt like the shortness of 2 Remake, I felt it was more of a challenge or something, so it didn't feel as short. Where I felt with 3, I just like blew through it. Like, I barely died on normal difficulty. I just like from start to end, I felt like I ran through it. And like, part of that is Jill as a character. She's like way more kitted out. She's got loads of like weaponry, which feels really good to shoot and to use, and love your grenades and stuff. Yeah. But there wasn't the same threat level as there was in 2. Like, I didn't feel like I was going to be taken out anytime soon, you know?
I've heard people say about this shortness of the game that the original Resident Evil 3 was short. But if I remember that game right, there was also a lot of branching paths in that game, right? Like, you had choices about what to do when the Nemesis showed up, and that would lead to like different parts of the story. So there was like quite a bit of replay value there. Is there anything like that in this one?
No, there isn't a lot of puzzles, or even like the first bit with Nemesis where he's kind of where he's not scripted is really easy just to kind of cheese. Like, his appearance is tied to one key item, so if you don't pick up that item until the last moment that you're ready to leave, he isn't really a bother to you at all.
I remember you said you figured that out like pretty early on, like in the demo.
Yeah, like, don't pick up the hose straight away and he won't spawn. So to me, he wasn't very active in this. He was more of a boss fight. And in some ways I appreciate that, because I think the boss fights in this were way more fun than 2. Like, I love a big arena boss fight. They're really cool. Like, I really love Dog Nemesis. It was a good time.
I really, really like the last fight as well. That was a good mix of kind of the new and the old.
Exactly.
You've got these big glowy orbs, the pulsating orb things.
Yeah, there's a lot in it that feels like it really, like, you know, a few people were saying about the length and like, well, what did you expect? This is a remake of 3, which was originally a cash grab version of 2. And it's like, I don't understand the kind of why you would think that would make it into an adaptation like 20 years later. Like, that's not the first thing they wrote on the whiteboard, and they were like, make this a cash grab.
Yeah,
make
and it's
it
also the idea that
it
gets points for kind of having a slavish devotion to the original. I just don't get that either. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I felt like there was like, there is a bit of replay in it for sure. At the end, you have like medallions, and you kind of have to weigh up the inventory cost, because you might get like extra damage if you carry a medallion, and that's like buffed by 2 if you bring 2 medallions, but that means you're down 2 inventory slots. So there is like ways to like do really fun runs with this, especially without the knife durability. You can do a full knife run if you want. And there is definitely ways to get replayability out of this game, but I kind of think that's only for the hardcore people who would do that stuff anyway, you know?
Yeah, totally.
I wouldn't have any interest. Like, I'd watch someone do it, but I wouldn't do it myself.
Yeah. So I think in that case, I don't know if it doesn't feel as loving a product as I think Resident Evil 2 Remake did in my mind. And that's not to say it was a bad time. I had a really good, fun time with it, and I really, really loved Carlos and Jill as characters. But there's something that feels a little off about it, and I don't know what it's weird to kind of discuss it in this way because I really like it, but I'm also a little disappointed by it, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's total, especially like when the remake of 2 is such a big deal for you, you know?
Yeah, oh, definitely one of the best Resident Evil games.
And like,
in my mind.
if what you're saying is like it's missing that like X factor, that like extra bit of love and care, I think that counts for a lot, you know. And I've had loads of stuff in games where I'm like, yeah, it's a fine game, but it's not like, it's just missing that thing where someone really, really wanted to push it over the edge, or a team of people wanted to push it over the edge, you know. Because I think like they saw the sales on Resident Evil 2 and they knew they had a slam dunk, so they were like. And like, you know, it came out just over a year away. You have to wonder about like the development cycle, considering they use the same engine and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so there's puzzles in this game, John. Do you mind if I tell you the puzzles?
I'll probably never play it.
Okay, so there's one early on where you have to line up a bunch of train tracks so that the subway train can escape Raccoon City. And then later on, you're in a lab and you have to mix a serum together. And that's it.
Wow, okay.
I did that serum one by accident. Like, I was just like, you know the way you press a few things just to kind of understand what the machine is doing, like how much it's taking out or how much it's putting in? Because it's one of these kind of like ratio ones. So you press a few things just to see what's what. I pressed a few things to see what's what, or what was what, and then it was just like passed, like I had done the puzzle. And I was like, oh.
I love it when that happens in games sometimes, like when you do something like that and it accidentally kind of breaks the narrative of the game. I always remember in one of the Pokemon games, I had a moment where like the big legendary god Pokemon showed up, and like there were other characters there, and I was like, oh god, he's here, what are we gonna do? And I used a quick ball on him in the first round and just caught him instantly.
I really love when that happens to games. Joe, I'm really, really sorry for bringing up Bloodborne again, or just in From Software games in general, but I really, really like when enemy NPCs die off camera. And you know they died because you get like a little bit of extra souls or blood echoes. But like, it's like you didn't do anything, but the game is rewarding you for doing nothing.
It's a nice little touch, and it's a nice little way of being like, these guys are dead, and communicating that kind of through the in-game mechanics as well.
Yeah, but like, you didn't do anything, and you're like,
no, you did shit all.
You're like, oh, okay.
Brian, how are you feeling about the Resident Evil 3 remake?
I really miss playing it. I wish it was longer. You know how you can't really rent video games anymore? This would be like such a perfect game to rent.
Yeah.
For me, my recommendation is, I think if you're on the fence about buying it, you probably would have bought it by now. I think it's a great game to play, but maybe not to buy at the full price it is. But like, I love this game. I think it's great. I'm just a bit underwhelmed by parts of it.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's a shame. I know like that was kind of high up on both your lists for this year.
And it did its job. Yeah. It's just like, we wanted more of it. Like, I think if they even had an extra section, like they cut out the clock tower bit, like if they just had a kind of a variation of that or something else.
They cut out the park as well, didn't they?
Yeah, it's Spooky Park.
That's a weird one, because that was a really cool environment from original 3.
Mm-hmm. So it's like, I don't even think it needs much more, but it feels like it's lacking something.
It just needs one more hour, just one more set piece, please.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Brian.
Yes.
Why don't you tell us about One Piece Pirate Warriors 4?
Oh, yes. Okay. I think earlier this year I was talking about like One Piece media, and like I love the manga One Piece. It's one of my favorite things ever. And I'm kind of indifferent to the anime, but there's 2 great video game series out of One Piece, because One Piece is like one of those like media juggernauts with like loads of like franchise video game spin-offs, right? But I think the Pirate Warriors games are absolutely fantastic, and the same with the Jump Ultimate Stars fighting games as well, which became the One Piece Gigant Battle series. But the One Piece Pirate Warrior games, which are the Muso games made by W Omega Force Engine team. I don't know what they're called.
I think they're I think are they not just called Omega Force?
Omega Force, okay, yeah. Who make the Dynasty Warrior games.
Yep.
This is the latest release from that studio, from that team, and it's the fourth in the One Piece Pirate Warriors series. The last one was Pirate Warriors 3, and I think that came out like about 4 or 5 years ago now. And
you were very fond of that game, weren't you?
I love that game.
Yeah, that was class. I remember you showed it to me once, and it was really good.
I still play it occasionally. I hadn't played it this year, but definitely last year I played a couple of the non-story campaigns, because like it's real fun to play for 20 minutes. And I totally get the appeal of those games of just being like a get out of my way simulator where you just have 100 people or like 1,000 people and you're just like, get out, and you're just like crushing them out of your way. I think that's so satisfying.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah.
I think that's such a great thing that can only happen in video games, and I'm so glad that exists. So this is the fourth one of this series, and it's got some good stuff, it's got some bad stuff. Some great new stuff that they've done right is, you know, the way a lot of those Pirate Warrior games, they feel very grid, like corridor-y games, where like there's nothing ever really tiered. Like you're kind of going through different spaces, but they're all kind of connected by corridors. And then
do you mean like there's no like verticality to the games?
Yeah, there's no verticality, and like there's no like funny organic shapes. They're all large,
like tunnels. Yeah,
they're all tunnels.
They're tunnels to square rooms.
Yes. Okay. So Pirate Warriors 4 doesn't really do that. And so because the world of One Piece is so nice, like the backgrounds in the comic itself are fantastic. They're as detailed as the characters. They've done a great job of recreating environments, but doing it so that everything has a sense of verticality and a lot of like spherical shapes and like not really having sharp corners, but having rather like, you know, wibbly wobbly tunnels and spaces. And so getting from A to B doesn't feel like you're walking through Manhattan in a grid. It feels like you're walking through, I don't know, like Dublin, I guess, where you've got to walk through these narrow, windy paths, which is super cool. That definitely lends itself to the world building, but I think as well, when you're trying to fight a lot of enemies, a lot of them are kind of like truncated into these spaces that you're not really familiar with. So doing a lot of damage to a lot of enemies, you kind of need to be in the right room to get that successfully. As well with this, because there's only about 5 years worth of new One Piece to adapt and kind of cover in this game, they have to kind of retread old ground from the previous games, and they've done this already like before in the other two games, but like you start again pre-time skip with Luffy where he's gathering his crew, or no, do you? It does a synopsis, but like you are just like an underpowered Monkey D. Luffy trying to get people to join his crew again, and you're redoing some of the same missions from the previous game. But I think this was already a problem anyway, but like it does kind of feel a bit underwhelming or kind of lackluster to kind of do this again. Especially after kind of like how strong you get at the end of this game. You are kind of like weak again at the beginning, but it doesn't really feel, I don't know, like it's very hard to feel motivated to do it again.
Especially after you spent so much time with the previous one.
Yeah. And the button layout is a tiny bit different in the main menu and stuff. Like the previous game used to use the touchpad, which I thought was super cool. This game doesn't use the touchpad, doesn't use it at all for anything. Feels like you press less buttons in this game, but sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes that's a bad thing. But it feels like there's less variety in the game in terms of controls. But then with the level layout, there's way more variety. So I'm feeling kind of mixed on it at the moment, but they did a clever thing where the first mission in the game actually is the current arc, which is the Wano arc in the manga, and you play as Luffy, and he's super overpowered, and that's kind of where Luffy is narratively in One Piece. And so that was super cool as like a tease for what you're going to become at the end of the game in the later half of it. But I like. It's fun. I probably just need to play more of it.
Cool. Sounds maybe like a little underwhelming compared to how much you were into the last one.
Yeah, but then like the last one I didn't know what to expect either, so maybe that's why.
Do you think if you hadn't played the last one, this one would be a bigger deal for you?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay. You know, I get that. I sometimes that kind of stuff can be a little crappy.
Yeah, but like...
Guys, sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, it's great. No, okay. Sorry, that's all I got.
Okay, all good. It's all good.
Yes.
Guys, I finished No More Heroes, Travis Strikes Back.
Fuck yeah.
Yep. So I started playing this game like 2 years ago or something, a year and a half ago. And it was kind of one of those games, I really enjoyed it, but it just kind of got swept aside. But now, considering we have nothing but time, this is one of the games where I was like, I want to go back and see what's going on here. And I'm going to talk about like some spoilery stuff with this game, because I kind of feel like most of the people who have played it anyone who wants to play it probably has. This is the third game in the No More Heroes sequel, but it's kind of a spin-off in that it's a completely different genre and it's kind of a side story. It's about Travis, the star of the first two games, going off and living by himself in a caravan and finding a magical game console that sucks him into other video games. And the idea is that they wanted, what I read a lot about it was that it was going to be like 6 different genres of games. It absolutely is not. 100%, I don't know who they were fooling with something like that. But that said, I think there's 2 things about this game, and one is that the combat is actually pretty fun. It's like a top-down view, and it's like kind of very old school arcade, like Gauntlet or something like that. And then you have 4 skills you can equip to Travis, like Force Lightning, or like a Force Throw, or deploying a turret, or shooting gas, or healing yourself. And what's kind of cool is that all those powers work well, and they're all useful, and some of them even synergize with each other really well. Like there's one where you can shoot out a stream of gas, but then you can shoot the gas with lightning to make it explode, which does massive damage. So it's actually like interesting symmetry that can go on there, and I always kind of enjoyed the combat. Like it felt good. But the second thing is like, this is such a grasshopper game, you know, like this is that studio and this is everything they love. And there are shortcomings to it. Like there are parts of it that feel like way too long, where it's like, okay, I get the section, I get what you're doing with the teleporters, can we just do something else now? And moments like that go on for so long, which is a drag. But I think if you're into Grasshopper and you like their weird, chaotic sort of game design, this is that. Like, it is the purest version of that. But what kind of caught me off guard was how crazy this game started going in, like, its final hours. Niamh, you were a big fan of Shadow of the Damned.
I am.
So the 5th world, the 5th game Travis has to travel into is Shadow of the Damned 2.
What?
Yep.
That's so broken.
It's so broken. And he travels into Shadow of the Damned 2, where he fights Johnson. That's the gun from Shadow of the Damned.
Yeah, your big dick gun.
Yep.
The
Except Garcia Hotspur has been killed and he's now in hell. And Johnson is the new hero of the game, and he's now called 8 Hearts.
Does he have a body, or is he just a?
He's a kind of gun? He's kind of like he has a body, but he's still a skull.
Okay.
He's in like a blue jacket, and so you have to fight him, and you kill him to send him to hell, so he can rescue Hotspur.
Huh.
That's cool. Sure.
And it
make Shadow of the Damned too.
It is genuinely really cool, but like there's this weird story, like the story, a lot of the story of this game plays out through text scenes. And like they have this like, you know, really cool like green and black kind of old school filter, and the drawings are really good, but just the dialogue is just so stupid and fun. And there's a lot of like, I get a smell of bloodlust off you. You know, and that's how like Travis knows he's around another assassin. And I just had a blast with this game. Like, it was so stupid. And one of the last levels, you end up meeting the main character from Hotline Miami, and him and Travis become friends.
What's his name? Richard?
Jacket.
Okay.
Yeah. And the game just has a real style to it, and there's a lot of shortcomings. I'd absolutely not recommend it to anyone who already isn't in love with like the Grasshopper style and Suda51 and the other No More Heroes games. Like, this is 100% not a game to you, to the point that I'm kind of shocked it got made. But it's weird and cool, and I just loved it. And I really want to go back and play some Grasshopper and Suda's other ones. Like, I really want to play the 21st Ward and Flowered Sun and Moon. I'll probably pick one of them up soon because they seem like fun quarantine games. But I had a blast with it. I think these games are great. I can't wait for No More Heroes 3.
The actual No More Heroes sequel.
The actual No More Heroes sequel. Yes, that's correct.
Has there been any news on that?
There's been like a 7-minute animated trailer that seems to have nothing to do with No More Heroes.
Sure.
Cool.
It's about a boy.
Seems right.
It's about a boy and his pet alien. And it's like E.T., where he helped build a spaceship and then sends the alien off into space. And then the alien comes back like 20 years later and it's like, "Hi, it's me. I'm here to conquer your planet."
That's pretty good.
That's the setup for No More Heroes 3.
Cool.
I'm excited.
Yeah, seems right. Seems very Suda.
Yeah,
It's
those
very
games are
Suda.
slick.
Yeah, like, and you know, like I said, there's a certain jank in parts of it. You could tell this is not a big budget game. But I fucking loved it. Like, those games are just, I want to go back and play more Let It Die. Like, that's how into Suda51 I am right now. Niamh, tell us about Resistance.
So this is the bundled multiplayer that came in Resident Evil 3. And I think I said last time that if you enjoyed Resistance, then you shouldn't be like worried about the value proposition of Resident Evil 3 despite it being short. And I was wondering if I'd be this person who would like Resistance. And thankfully, I am.
That's great.
That's great.
So, Resistance is the asymmetric, is that what we're calling it? Multiplayer game where one person plays as a mastermind and they take control of kind of a Resident Evil big bad. You have Spencer of the Spencer Mansion. You have Albert Wesker's sister, Alex Wesker. You have Annette Birkin, and this new guy who's the most evil. He's French. And
oh, God.
I know.
Sacre
and you
bleu.
can play as one of these masterminds, and basically you have access to camera feeds, and you get to place zombies and traps in a room for a group of 4 survivors to try and make it through the trap room and get out the other end. Kind of a la Dead by Daylight. And this is a really good fix for the Resident Evil universe. Like, they've kind of played around with these trap kill room stuff before. Like, it's been in the movies a lot. It's in basically Alex's role in Revelations 2 is this, and it was in 7 a bit as well. So this really works with the formula of Resident Evil to have these kind of maniacal bad guys being like, "We've got you trapped in the experiment room. Can you get away?" And it's kind of fun. I do not play as a mastermind. Just not my type of gameplay. I play as a survivor. So when you take the survivor role, you are one of 4 characters with different skills. Some of them kind of more defensive, some of them more offensive, and you have to get out of these trap rooms that are created for you by another player. I've been playing as Tyrone a lot, and he's a firefighter, and he is very good at kicking open doors, taking damage, and reviving teammates. And so far, it's been like genuinely a fun game to play. I just, my fear with it is that it won't get the support it needs, because it's right now it has, I think, 4 maps, and the maps are beautifully rendered. Like, these are really good looking maps. And you have like 6 survivors to pick from. You level up kind of painfully slowly. Like, you get RP points, result points, and you get maybe 5,000 RP points at the end of a match that you survive as a survivor. And let me tell you, my win death lose ratio as a survivor is pretty shitty. I think I'm 30% win and 70 lose. And I have not played an online game with such a wide gap in that win-lose ratio before. And like, it's not just like a me thing, it seems to be a common thing. Because the way I'm dying a lot of the time is more running out of time, like timeout situations, rather than the mastermind laying down a really good trap room or getting me with, like, they can launch Mr. X into the world and stuff.
So, Niamh, is it like you time out and then it's just over?
Yes, and and it's a 3-round thing, so you can kind of do 2 rounds and then start your 3rd round with not enough time, and then you know you're gonna kind of time out kind of thing.
I don't mind time limits, but a lot of the time I much prefer it when they do something creative with the timeout. Like, I love in Smash, Bryan, when the time runs out and you're both on 300% health and bombs start draining from the sky. Like, I feel like with Resident Evil Resistance, it'd be cool if, like, the time runs out and then, like, the DM or whatever gets, like, way more points to spend on monsters or something like that.
Yeah, like, just something more needs to happen there, like a boss room or something, or just to be a little bit less stingy with the time. Like, I feel like I'm, like it's just... If you won, you can win back time for like taking out zombies and stuff. If you could win back more time or something like that. Like, I don't think it's a huge tweak that needs to happen, but I definitely do think there needs to be tweaks, because then if you look at the masterminds kind of win-lose ratio, like they're kind of 50-50 or 60-40 to win. And it's like there's something not right there, and I hope it's something they look into, because I think this game, the people who are going to play it are probably the people who've bought Resident Evil 3 and are into Resident Evil, and it's got good stuff with the masterminds that really feeds into the Resident Evil world. If you aren't a Resident Evil fan, I don't know why you would leave something like Dead by Daylight to play this. You know, it's not going to steal that play base.
Sure.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So I'm kind of like, if Capcom decide to stick with it, it could grow into something really cool, which I'd be really excited for. Like, I'm enjoying playing it a lot. I'm putting a lot of my time into it, but I'm a little skeptical of how much they will do. They have a little bit of a roadmap. They put Jill in it the other day, and they're going to put some new masterminds.
And so is Jill like a unique character with her own skills?
Yeah, everyone has kind of their unique skills. So she gets her kind of quick step from the main game. So she kind of has a dodge. Tyrone, the character I play as, he has a kind of a buff that will make people take less damage, and they're kind of their fever skills, so they're on a cooldown.
And so then, like, with the masterminds, like, what kind of masterminds are there?
They're the ones who I've mentioned. There's like Annette Birkin and Alex Wesker and all of those.
So okay. Yeah.
So they're more built into the Resident Evil world, where the survivors, they could be like the cast from Until Dawn. Like, they're a real like teen slasher cast, if you get me. Like, you got the jocks, Riverdale. The nerds. Yeah, exactly.
Do you think that
there's a guy in a varsity jacket?
Do you think that works, or do you think it'd be better if they had like just Resident Evil characters?
I think if they keep going with it, it's going to be just Resident Evil characters. Like, they put Jill in it. I'd say they're going to put Carlos in it. People are like saying put Claire in it, put Leon in it.
Niamh, real quick, any final thoughts on Resident Evil Resistance before this Zoom meeting cuts us off?
Okay, yeah, I'm enjoying it, and I'm hoping they stick with it, and I will be playing more of it.
Okay, guys, we got one game left on this list. The Final Fantasy VII Remake.
No, what about Majora's Mask?
Oh, god damn it. Sorry, I forgot. Majora's Mask. Go, Bryan.
Great.
Oh.
Tell us about Majora's Mask again, Bryan.
Yeah, 20 years ago they made a game called Majora's Mask. Okay, I like, for me, I'm not sure if it's happening to you guys, but I'm finding a lot of comfort in going back to older media rather than newer media. So
I did watch The Ring.
Yeah,
100%. Yeah. Absolutely.
Probably for comfort. I'm playing a lot of older games rather than newer games. I think, like, there's nothing like so like it's me, not them, the games. But like, I'm definitely finding a lot more safety and comfort by playing older games that I've already beaten. I'm not sure why. I don't know. It's probably just it's something. Anyway, I thought, considering current events, I would replay Majora's Mask, because that is about about a town called Termina, or well, a world called Termina with a town, and the world is going to end in 3 days, and everyone is not feeling super good about it. Where to start? Okay. The last time I played Majora's Mask was on the DS, or sorry, on the 3DS with that remake, and I really enjoyed that, but I wanted to play the original N64 version with all the jank. So I'm playing it on the Wii U because I got it for like a tenner on the eShop there, and it's just like a 1-for-1 remake of the game, or port of the game. And I'm about halfway through it, and I'm really, really enjoying it. I think that game is aged super nice, all things considered. One of my favorite, that game's always like talked about to bits on YouTube videos and stuff like that. But one thing that kind of really stood out to me this time around is that the game starts off and you're playing as Link, and it's Kid Link, so he's about 10 years old. And I was about 10 or 11, 12 when I originally played this game as well. And when the game starts off, Link gets mugged by Skull Kid and 2 fairies, and they take all his belongings, they take his horse, and then Skull Kid curses Link and turns him into a Deku Scrub. And then you explore the new town with limited abilities, and none of the NPCs treat you with respect, and you're not allowed to even leave the town because the guards patrolling the gate entrances don't think you will survive out there. And I've never really played a Zelda game like this, or kind of like games in general where, like, you know, the hero's call to action is about you saving others. But the way this game starts off is that you have to save yourself, and it's you have everything stripped from you, and you have to get all your stuff back bit by bit. And it does a really, really great job of kind of like, as you explore the game further and further, you realize that there's a bigger threat with the moon going to crash in 3 days, and you're trapped in a Groundhog Day type 3-day time cycle where you have to keep going back in time and resetting bits and pieces, but also making progress so that you can kind of tackle the bigger, greater bad at the end of the game. But I think the game does a great job of kind of like you'll play as Link and you'll get new ability, or you'll get your original body back, you'll get new weapons back, and you have 3 hearts again, but all of a sudden you'll scale your hearts back to being stronger. And around the halfway point, you get your horse Epona back, and at that point you're already kind of invested in everything else around you, that it's not about you like saving Link, it's about you as Link saving everyone else, which I think is super cool. Because like, to me, there's very few games that kind of like give you a reason why you should be saving this town outside of like, well, obviously it's the right thing to do, but like, why is this character in particular doing it and not someone else? Like, why does Mario save Peach all the time?
Because he's the chosen one.
Yeah, and so for this, like, Link is the chosen one, but like, he has his own reasons for doing it too, which I think is super cool.
I think it's kind of nice that like you are like, you're right, like you're helping out all these people on this like kind of personal level, and I think that in turn kind of makes you more invested in the grander arc of actually saving their lives. Like, they're stopping the old woman getting mugged in the park, but then there's like, you still got to save her again by stopping this like horrible catastrophe from happening. And it's so, the game is like really focused on the catastrophe happening to that community, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it really plays around with the scale of something very personal to very global, and I think that's kind of nice in current events as well. I don't know, it's super relatable, and I don't know if I would have thought of it that way if not for, you know, what's happening. I don't know, like, there's something really special about this game.
Yeah, it's a cool one. It's on my list for sure. Like, I really want to go back and play it at some point.
It's aged super well. And like, the game's much smaller in terms of like dungeons and stuff like that, but there's way more detail and everything, so it feels it does feel as long as Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, for sure. So,
yes,
Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yes. I think, John, if we're going to tackle this, we got to break it up into pieces.
I only got one thing to say.
Okay.
In the original, Aerith's boots were a kind of dark brown, and in this, they're a kind of more ashen black. Bad game.
Said it.
Yeah, there you go.
Do you guys want to talk Quicktime Events? Yeah, Niamh, I've been thinking about this, and man, it's difficult to even know where to start.
So I propose we talk about gameplay and environment first, and then story and characters.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, so how are you feeling about this battle system?
I love it. I think it's an amazing battle system. When I saw like the trailers initially showing like very similar 15 looking combat, I was horrified. I think this combat is the furthest from 15 you could possibly have. I feel like it is so nuanced. It feels so good. Like swinging the Buster Swords feels great. I love how every character plays differently. I find when I come across a bigger boss character a lot of the time, I go in, I assess them, I restart the fight, I respec all my characters out for that particular fight. Not because it's difficult, but just because I love that process so much.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it?
That's interesting. I love the gameplay as well. I think it's like probably my favorite aspect of it generally. Like the animation is beautiful in it. I love how varied the different characters are. It really, to me, has a bit of that 13 feel in it with the stagger gauge and kind of building that up and kind of switching out characters to kind of, you know, really hit that the way you want to hit it.
That's the thing I love. Like, I feel like not only are you changing your tactics from battle to battle, but even mid-battle, sometimes something will shift where it's like, okay, now I have to take this approach. And like
every character gets used.
Yeah, and like that's the thing. Like I feel like with some characters, I'm like, okay, this guy I can stagger him easily, so I'm gonna stick with Cloud. I'm gonna go into Punisher mode, and I'm just gonna wade into him and deplete his stagger bar. But then other times I'm like, oh, I need to be Barrett for this because the long range characters, or I need to be Tifa, or I need to be Aerith because they're vulnerable to magic. And this is my favorite RPG battle system maybe ever, and I am so shocked with that.
I agree. It's up there as one of my favorites for sure. Like I really love the synergy that you can get between characters to kind of set each other up for the best attack that you can do.
When I met Chadley, and fuck Chadley. Thanks, Chadley. Thanks, Namora. I only had Cloud in my party, and you know the way you do the VR missions to fight the summons? I had to solo Shiva with Cloud, and it was so difficult but so rewarding, and I literally fought her about 8 times, each time going back, readjusting my build slightly, trying to just get that little bit more magic defense that would let me survive her attacks. And after about 8 tries, I like honed in on just the perfect Cloud build to get her, and it was so satisfying. And it felt like a Souls fight, you know. It felt like something so difficult to overcome, but every time you learn something. And like, it's not even just that tactically it's good. I feel like the actual movement mechanics and how they use space and how differently some enemies will act and like rush you or stay away from you, it all makes a big difference. And I'm in love with that battle system. Like, I've played probably 300 or 400 fights in that game or whatever, and I'm never upset. Like, even I'm never annoyed when I get into a fight, because I just like looking for the optimum way to deal with it, and it feels like there's so much room for self-expression and how you want those characters to act.
I would kind of disagree a little on the kind of fights all feeling good. I kind of find a lot of the side missions really feel like kind of padding to me, and I don't think it gets the best out of the battle system, like just clearing out like shitty little weak characters. And I really want to get into bigger fights where the battle I can just play around more with it rather than just clearing out things.
There's definitely 1 or 2 side missions, especially in Sector 5, Aerith's place, where I just felt like, I'm gonna fight another bunch of these things, am I? And like, I wasn't like it wasn't that feeling. That said, I have encountered some bosses that only appear in side missions that were really fun to fight.
There is a few for sure, but I feel like a lot of the side quests are just kind of fluff in that regard. And
yeah, totally.
That was a little frustration. Another little frustration I have with, maybe it's not really combat, but just say after combat and you want to heal yourself up. You can't heal from the menu, so you can't heal from your inventory, and you can't use your potions from your inventory or a magic spell, so you have to just go into your command and go through the animation.
And like you don't want to use your high potions either, so you're literally just using potions, and it takes like 20 or 30 seconds to heal everyone up, and that's a long time when you just want to get going.
I know, and like all that would change is like just let you do it from the menu. I think it's the first RPG I can think of where I haven't been able to use items in the menu, and it's just like really weird to even just go into the menu system and see it there and just nothing comes up.
And what's even more unusual is like I could understand if this was like an oversight in that they were using the same menu from the combat system, but like you literally go into a new style of gameplay when you're outside of combat. Like it's not the same controls. And so why is that carrying over?
It's a weird one. I would love as well if you could run around, if you could switch characters for exploration while they're in your party.
Yeah. Even just for healing, that would be handier, because like you could, because it when you select a potion, it auto goes to the person that you're controlling unless their health is full. And it's like I don't need to heal. It's a quibble, but it's frustrating.
Yeah, it is a little quibble, but it's something that you end up using a lot just in between fights and stuff.
Yeah.
So we're both in love with the gameplay.
Yeah, totally.
Simple. I wish summons weren't like, didn't have a mind of their own.
I always prefer the big cinematic attack. And like I know you kind of get that, but that's not something like I prefer just having a lot of effort going into one big attack rather than giving them a load of little animations. But that's kind of a holdover from classic Final Fantasy, but it's always been the way I've preferred it.
I guess other than that environment design and stuff, I'm a little disappointed with it, gotta say.
So I think the environments, like, they're very well modeled. Like I think a lot of them look really well. I especially just got to Market Street or Markets, and fuck, that place looks great. What I will say is like I feel like there is more imagination in the old Final Fantasy VII backgrounds than there are in a lot of these backgrounds. Like say especially Midgar. A lot of Midgar here looks like a rundown real world city, and it's like, yeah, cool, okay. But the old Midgar really did look like just a community that scraped itself together from just scrap. And I thought that's really important for like what that city is. And I do feel you've kind of lost that. And I think that's really disappointing, because that's not there's no reason they couldn't have done that. They just chose to do something I feel like a little more mundane and a little safer.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the NPCs kind of lend to that as well, where they're kind of using the same NPC system from 15, where they're just they're not as generic, but they're generic enough that they don't really have so much of a difference between like the sector slums and like, the top plates,
And it's another way I think that that wasn't really a problem in original 7 because of how low detail those characters were. They could kind of just be anything you wanted them to be. Like they were just blocks of color. But in this, like, I don't really like seeing someone walking around like Sector 7 who looks like they just walked out of the Gap.
Yeah, and it looks weird. It makes your characters look insane, because I think there just should be like maybe more mercenaries walking around with swords and stuff, because you guys just look like you're coming home from a con and like no one else dresses like this. But I think if they were surviving in the Sector 7 area, they'd be like more, I don't know, earthy or more like kind of found and like materials or something.
Sometimes I do feel like, or sometimes I do see an NPC and they're walking around and they're wearing like similar clothes to Tifa or Barrett, and it's kind of like, oh, you could see how those two are like from the same city, but that's a very small fraction of the NPCs. And I'd just like to see more culture in the way they dress. Like I think that would I think that would be pretty cool.
And that's something Final Fantasy was always very good at until up to 15, and I feel like that's kind of happened here again with 7 Remake, is the NPCs aren't reflecting their environment as much as I would like. The
NPCs really feel like they're from like a generic outsourced place.
As well with the environments, after playing the demo, I was really excited because I liked going up to all the posters and taking screenshots and stuff. All the signage in the main game, the textures are so low and you can't read anything, and it kind of just, again, takes that tiny little extra bit of environmental detail and storytelling out of the world. And that was a bit of a bummer. Like, some of the textures are just really weird. Like, I thought things weren't loading in, but they're just really low res for some reason.
I hadn't noticed that, but I've seen a lot of people talking about it.
Oh, it's especially, like, it's noticeable on stuff like doors or like those big bales of grain, like bags of grain and stuff, just in weird little spots where everything else is super hyper detailed, but then there'll be this big object taking up a lot of space or in a cutscene, and it'll just be just a mud texture. And it's really weird because sometimes the game looks gorgeous and then other times it just looks muddy as fuck.
I think you can see where you can see where the money went, and it's in the character models.
Yes, they are my absolute favorite thing about the game, is how beautiful those character models are.
Oh my god.
I'm just kind of blown away about how they've managed to take these kind of classic silhouettes and like make them into this semi-realistic style where they still work. Like, Cloud looks like a big triangle, Barrett's a big square. Like, they still completely carve out an iconic space that makes them kind of, I don't know, just like they really have solidified Final Fantasy VII's characters as iconic video game designs.
A character like Sephiroth, where you've seen him so many different times and so many different styles, and yet like the first time you see him in this, I was like, oh, like his design.
He looks great.
He looks like a fucking.
He's just a really long rectangle.
Yeah, he's just like a beautiful creature. Like, my god. And I love that aspect of the game.
A little bit again with the environments that I'm not loving is once you reach an area, you can tell where you're gonna do your side quests and stuff. There's a lot of going up and down ladders, just a lot of going up and down ladders in this game. And there is a lot of just like when I was turning off the sun lamps, that mission dragged.
That's a and it was really just a lot long mission. That took me forever. How far? Where are you in it?
Copy and pasted stuff. I'm about 18 hours in, so I presume I'm around a third to a half of the way there.
What part of the game?
I'm just finishing up with Aerith and Cloud. We're going. God, where's it
Wall
called?
Market?
The Honeybee.
Okay,
Wall Market, yes.
So I have Don whoever's place.
I'm just at the start of that section.
Mm-hmm. I think we're around the same area. Yeah. But I felt like that sun lamp thing really dragged and it was really boring looking. And then the next bit afterwards, before you fight that boss, it was just copy and pasted rooms with the consoles and putting in the card and being like, what bit do you
I thought like
off?
The gimmick of that was really cool and really clever, but I definitely feel like it stretched on for maybe a room or two too long.
Yeah, if you did it once and then it was just like, okay, here's your fourth room of consoles with the same guard layout. That felt a little copy and pasty, stretched to me.
It's also kind of one of the things I am enjoying about the game, because like it shows one of the things I'm enjoying, whereas like in the original game, Airbuster was like just a boss who appears and he's gone. I did like that they kind of built up some anticipation with him by being like, oh, he's Shinra's big fucking weapon, and then you have to like I agree with you that the pacing for that bit's kind of fucked, but I did love the idea of like, which of his attacks do you want to disable? That was I really got a kick out of that, and I thought it was a really clever way to build anticipation for that fight. And then same with the big claws, the big like giant hands. That's like one background element in one background in 7, and I think it's cool that they kind of built a little puzzle into it. Again, I would say it maybe went on one section too long, but I still appreciated that.
It feels a little dragged, especially when the characters are like in the sun lamp area, they're like, Biggs is just up ahead, and then like it's an hour later and they're like, Biggs is up ahead. Yeah. You're like, okay. I guess the other thing, we move on to characters and story. I am not mad about the characterization in this.
Okay.
I think the voice acting is fantastic and everyone is making these characters as likable as they can be, but I think the writing is very reflective of Nomura and I don't love it. I think this sometimes kind of goes into feeling like a pantomime.
Yes.
Like a children's pantomime that is also really, really horny, but mostly just a pantomime.
Niamh, you're speaking my language.
And it's kind of weird because like I like, again, I love these character bits and I love their interactions, but like I come away from it and I'm just like, Wedge is just this huge fat joke. It's just like, that's all it is, and it just feels a little like you could have done so much more with that. Like, these are freedom fighters, these are interesting people, and it's so cartoony. And just the Jessie stuff and the Tifa and the Aerith stuff, it's like it's crossed into like there's a dating sim element.
So this is a waifu game.
I don't think anyone... Yeah,
There's a really funny bit in a
ultimately
flashback with Cloud's mother, and she's like, the girls must be all over you. And he's like, not really. And I was like, you fucking liar!
Yeah, and I think that stuff like that makes it feel very... immature, like, as I said, like a pantomime. I feel like, and then like the villains kind of nearly add to this, like they're like maniacal laughter.
So
and I really liked Roche. He's very over the top, and I was just like, yeah, look, if we're doing this where it's basically a cartoon, have the enemies be cartoons.
I loved
well.
Roche. There was one thing that I wish they did with Roche, and like, I get that they're not going to do this, but I was really hoping, you know, when you beat Roche and his motorcycle slows down and he just disappears beyond the horizon, I really, really just wanted his motorcycle to explode and for him to come back later without explanation. Because, like, that's what he is to me. He's just a silly cartoon. He's Team Rocket.
Yeah.
He's the guy with the pompadour and the mullet.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's fucking brilliant.
He really reminds me of Joe Exotic.
Yeah, he's definitely from that universe.
Yeah. I feel you with some of the characterization stuff. I think you're totally right with the pantomime stuff. I think I am actually enjoying that part of it a little bit. A character like Wedge, for me, I don't like the fat joke stuff. I don't like that he's always hungry and that's a character trait. I do think that's boring. I do really like that voice actor, and I do think he has brought a certain goofy charm to that character that I really like.
He's Badger from Breaking Bad.
I know, yeah.
Yeah.
That's so good.
But I think that's something that like a lot of people are like the voice acting is so good, and a lot of them are recognizable voices that people love, but like that does not make this character writing good.
No, of course not. I'm just saying, like, that is a piece of his characterization that I did enjoy. Where I kind of have more trouble with that is, I think both like the performances for Tifa and Aerith are good. Like, I think those actors are very talented and they did a good job. I'm just not mad about the direction either of them went. I feel like Tifa just sounds like a little too proper for someone who's like been bartending in slums for like for, you know, the last 5 years or whatever it's been.
But she's your childhood friend.
I know, and like that's like, there's parts of this game where like I'm okay with the waifu stuff, and there's parts of it I really don't like. I feel like the opening couple of sections with Aerith are like, they're kind of excruciating. I don't like what they did with her, in that she seems so ditzy and she seems like so kind of like, and like, I get that she's kind of playing with Cloud in a similar way she did with the original game, but there's just some sections like where she falls off the wall and you catch her. I don't need that shit. And like, what I liked about Cloud and Aerith in the original Final Fantasy is they really felt like equals, you know? Aerith felt just as capable as Cloud and just able to see through his bullshit, and there was a kind of meanness to how she'd treat Cloud sometimes. Like, there's a scene where her and Tifa just openly mock Cloud, and it's really good, you know? And in this, like, to me, it's like Aerith is nearly the distillation of all the waifu stuff, and they're making her such a waifu. And to me, that like lessens the appeal of the character, you know? And there are moments where I think they do something interesting. Like, I really like it when the ladder breaks and she goes, shit, just for 1 second, and grabs the ladder. Because that to me, it's like, oh, her like, if this is a demeanor that they're trying to do, it's like slips for a second, and that's really cool. But a lot of it for me was just like, okay. One thing I have with like judging this game in general this does not need to be Final Fantasy VII again, and in a lot of ways it's not. A lot of the ways I don't even feel like this is a remake. I feel like this is a game inspired by Final Fantasy VII, so I really don't need it to do the same things. And in a lot of cases, like adding Roche or just completely changing up the combat, to me they've either replaced something or added something new that has real value, and the fact that it isn't faithful to the original matters dick all to me. But I also need that added value to be there, and for me, I just think like they waifued up Tifa and Aerith both a little too much, but especially in Aerith, I think like it kind of put me off the character a bit. And I still like her, but she doesn't have that same, I don't know, like just that same strong personality I felt like she had in the original, and that's kind of disappointing.
Yeah, I agree. I really think this is a Nomura issue. I think he's terrible at writing female characters. I think this was very apparent in Final Fantasy 15 and Kingdom Hearts 3. It's like he takes very popular characters and he puts them through his lens, which I don't think works. Like, I think these characters are really interesting and really lovable and really cool, and I think they have gotten a bit of a raw deal with this by being just kind of boiled down to which one will Cloud pick? Is it the manic pixie dream girl? Is it the mom?
Is it the
friend?
other manic?
Or is it Jessie?
The other manic pixie dream girl?
Super horny.
And like
and the thing as well with it as well, it's like even if Cloud gave anything back, but he just doesn't, so it makes some of the female characters, like especially Jessie, just come up really desperate and weird, and it's just like, is nothing else going on? You know, is this it? And it's like every conversation with them, and it's not just that, it's every other conversation with other characters. It's like you meet Tifa's landlady and she's just like, you better treat her right. You go into a potion shop and the guy's like, oh, you're with Tifa, I'd love to fuck her, but I guess she's with you. And it's just like you're being told how cool Cloud is, how hot the girls are, and that seems to be more of the moment-to-moment story with the other stuff in the background. And I'm kind of more interested in the bigger, you know, eco-terrorism, capitalist takedown story than I am with which of the three girls will Cloud get. But I feel like we're spending way more time on the what girl will Cloud get with part of it than we are with anything else, or building up this world through its characters. And it's a little disappointing, gotta say.
I can 100% get that. Like, there's like in a lot of like, I think we're on the same page with that in a lot of ways. I think I'd probably feel a little more positively to some of that stuff because I do really enjoy some of the characterization, and I did really enjoy like just some of the scenes hanging out with, like, I love when Avalanche are like, okay, we're gonna have an Avalanche party, Cloud, get out. Like, I like stuff like like that. I loved when it's a total waifu bit, but I can't help what I am. I liked when Tifa made you the drink. I thought that was really fun and cute.
There wasn't even a cocktail.
But she didn't even mix anything in the drink. It was so weird.
No.
I was really, really bothered by that.
Yeah, same. I was just like, wow, they did not give a shit.
Hey, they got every bit that mattered to me. And then like I liked visiting Jessie's house and stuff. I thought that was kind of fun.
I am gay, so my mileage on the waifu stuff isn't going to be as high as maybe some other people, for sure. But like, if anyone's ever going to complain about shoehorning gay characters into anything again, I'm just going to point them directly to 7, which has just made this entire beloved game into waifus. Which one?
Which one's Cloud going to pick?
It's going to be two.
It's like...
I'm watching Rebecca play it, and... I don't have anything to say on the gameplay, but I'm really, really enjoying the dialogue, like the voice acting dialogue between the characters. In that, like, because I've played the original game, like, but only the Midgar part, and I don't really have much of a memory of it. But they all sound really corny, which I think is kind of charming, but then also horny, like you said, which is kind of like a bit too much sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, for me it's more corny, less horny.
Yeah, I getcha. There is other stuff that I actually like really appreciated about. One thing I really loved about like the environment of Midgar, like I know I've kind of had negative things to say about it, but like I did love panning the camera up and seeing the plate, because that's something that you could never do in the original, and I think that drove home a lot about that world. I wish people were a little less happy in Midgar, Because
they're so fucking psyched to talk to Cloud.
I know,
every single
but,
NPC is like, welcome to my shop, and Cloud's like, hi.
And like, there's some people who are a little down in the new one, but in the original, you know, there was like one of the first houses you go into is like a couple whose child has disappeared. They don't know where he is, and they keep his room the same way because they hope he's going to come back. And like stuff like that is super important, but I feel like the pantomime, that's where like the pantomime elements kind of hurt the setting in the story.
Yeah. I think they're trying to ride this line between, like, we're all hurt by this, so they kind of made the Sector 7 and 5 slums a little less shit. You know? So they can be like, it's bad, but it is, you know, it's not so bad. Like, I think they're really kind of... I obviously don't know where the story goes with it more, but they're really kind of pushing public opinion is against, like, Avalanche kind of thing.
Yeah. I like Barrett a lot.
Me too. I love
his shape. I love his voice actor. I love when like some of the kind of, he's a little goofier in this, but I think that works to actually kind of soften Barrett in a really interesting way. Like I love it when you beat the second boss and he's like, so that first boss was like a scorpion. What do you think that last one was? And it's just dumb, and I enjoyed that a lot.
I kind of would love if there was an actual fanfare. It was funny the few times when he sang it, and I was just like, okay, but now just play it.
I don't really like when they sing the fanfare. It just feels a little too,
on the nose.
You know?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was fine the first time he did it.
It works
and then I was just
once.
like, now
you
stop.
get it once. That's it.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of the times on the podcast, I voiced a lot of cynicism over this, and I really feel like that was cynicism that Square earned. Like, I don't think this game's perfect, but I'd be lying if I said I was having anything other than a fantastic time with it. Especially now where things aren't great. Like, I've been playing this game.
People need that comfort nostalgia.
Yeah, I've been playing this game for like 4 or 5 hours a day, and it has been great. Like, I've been having a really good time with it.
I think everything I was worried about came true, and Nomura should be banned from making games.
Sure.
I'm very curious to see what happens in the ending because it seems extremely divisive. So here's my not what's going to happen idea of what will happen, but Tifa kills Genova and Aerith doesn't die. They're my predictions for the end of this.
Whoa.
I don't know.
Bomb.
I don't know how this game goes, but Tifa doesn't die for quite a bit after Midgar, and I know we're not going that. Or Aerith
doesn't die.
And I know we're not going that far, but I've heard that they do some pretty wacky stuff towards the end, so I guess we'll see.
I really like when Cloud was hallucinating that Sephiroth was in the apartment, and he tried to take out his sword, but it was stuck in the door frame because of how big and long and dumb his sword is.
That was kind of fun.
That was some good physical comedy. I wish maybe Cloud lightened up.
I love Cloud. I love Cloud in this.
What's wrong with that guy?
What? How do you he's nothing going on. He's no
I know he's a shitty teenager. And I love when he goes to high five Aerith, and she's like, "Oh, are we gonna?" And he's like, "Ugh."
What's wrong with that dude? Well, I know what's wrong.
Brian, here's what I'll say.
He's a broken guy.
He's AJ from The Sopranos.
Yeah. A fuck up.
So I'm curious to see how we'll feel about it come the end, but I'm having a good time playing this pantomime of a game, and Nomura's bad at writing women.
Yep. One last thing. How are you feeling about them cloaked figures that keeps appearing, like the phantom things?
Oh, it's some real Kingdom Hearts bullshit. Yeah, it really is. Like, once they showed up, I was just like, oh, I see. This is where we're going. I hated it at the start, but someone pointed something out to me that I thought was kind of interesting. And I still don't like those scenes. I feel like they do feel really out of place with the rest of the game. Like, Nomura just couldn't hold in the Kingdom Hearts, and they just explode out in those parts. But basically, you know the way, like, there's things in this game that go differently than they do in the original game. Like, Cloud isn't picked to go on the second mission, and then Jessie hurts her leg, and he is picked. Those phantoms only show up when
the path of the story of the original game is about to diverge, and then they correct what happens so it stays in the original, so it stays on the storyline of the original game. And I think that's kind of interesting.
If you think that's interesting, you should really get into Kingdom Hearts, because it's basically all that type of bullshit about timelines, except this is kind of cool where it has, like, it's fun that they're playing with an adaptation of something and kind of making a point of marking the adaptation changing or not changing.
That's the point that I find interesting, less so the like if this was just a story, I would not find that an interesting plot element. But yeah, that's what we think of Final Fantasy VII Remake. I can't believe it's here. It's weird. It's really weird.
It's my favorite game.
It's your favorite game, Bryan?
Yeah, no. I'm just enjoying watching it.
Yeah. I'm really enjoying it. I'm kind of puzzled as to, like, it's puzzling to me that, like, the game does have so much polish and the combat is so well thought out, and it's the next mainline, I guess mainline Final Fantasy after 15, because, like, the discrepancy there is so gigantic.
Yeah, it feels like a lot of things. Like, it feels like a lot of the different combats finally coalescing in a way that I presume they probably always wanted for 15, but it just didn't quite get there.
I spent so much time with 15's combat, and it was just a mess. Like, just barely designed, you know? But yeah. Guys, let's say we move on into Quicktime Events. The PS5 controller.
What you guys think?
Oh. This looks like a sci-fi prop.
It really does.
I don't hate it. Like, I get it. It does look like, it looks like a shitty, sexy alien cyborg turned into a controller. And I nearly appreciate the boldness of it. I'm like, okay.
Me too.
Even though it does look goofy. Like, it does. What is the box gonna look like? I'm very curious about that, because you know it's going to be white with blue piping on it, like a blue light piping, because it's going to look kind of future-esque as well, based on this controller. I kind of like it for how definitively different it is. Like, it's so specific. It's going to be so specific to the PS5 that it makes me like it, but I also kind of think it's ugly, but I also love that this is what they did.
It looks like it's going to be hard to clean.
Yeah, the little
it's
grooves.
going to catch a lot of dirt. Yeah, the grooves are going to catch dirt and dust, and hands are filthy.
Mm-hmm. And I wonder if you'll get a little groove mark on your little handies.
Yeah. Not my handies.
Not your little handies.
Not my little pom-poms. Not my mittens.
I think the kind of ratio, because they've done the dual tone thing, which they have with the PlayStation 4 controller, where they kind of have split the two colors apart. I think the ratio isn't great. Like, the black part of it looks a little too slim.
It looks like a tank top with the shoulder straps.
Exactly. Maybe it will look a little like less weird in a different colorway, but with the white and black, it does look like a string top.
Yes.
Mario Remastered Collection rumors.
Okay, sure.
Sure. I really hope that has 3D World.
Yeah, it does. That game is fantastic, but it's trapped on the Wii U. And a lot of other games managed to escape the Wii U, but Mario 3D World and Pikmin 3 have not.
Yeah.
This is to do with the 35th anniversary of Super Mario Brothers, which is this summer, I think. And I think pre-coronavirus, Nintendo had a lot of plans, because Super Mario World was meant to open up in Universal Osaka, and I think they had a big giant plan imagined probably in around the announcement of E3, but now this is sort of a postponed rumor.
Yeah. Resident Evil 4 rumors.
So this is the rumor that there will be a Resident Evil 4 remake.
Okay, sure.
Probably maybe one of the games that doesn't need a remake. It plays very good. Like, it plays very well on everything it's on.
Yeah, as the hardcore Resident Evil fan of this podcast, I don't know how I feel about that.
I don't know how I feel about what you just said.
Like, I will enjoy playing this, and I will get it day one, because like Resident Evil 4 is my favorite.
I'd be morbidly curious to know whatever this is.
But
yeah, it's the last good Resident Evil game.
Definitely a statement.
I've been waiting all week to say that.
It's really good.
It's not true, but okay. I don't know. It's like, I'll play it. It'll be great. They'll make Louis Serra really, really sexy. And
I really hope Salazar is sexy as well.
Yeah, they'll make Salazar the sexiest.
The little
this
kid?
big sexy robot. Yeah, the little guy.
Yeah, the little Lord boy.
Like, I think if they're gonna do this, I hope they get really wild with it. Like, I hope they just make it like 7. They make a game inspired by 4 and not just a HD remake of 4.
Given what 2 and 3 is, I think it'll just be something like that.
This will be something to make money off of.
But even 3's very different from original 3.
Yeah,
like,
but 3 and 2 are quite the same. Like 3 remake and 2 remake, I don't think they're going to mix up the formula for this. This is something that they're kind of making. Their kind of B studio is kind of taking on.
I guess what I mean is more like, I hope they mix it up a lot from the original 4, because I feel like trying to like go toe to toe with original 4 and do that game better than that game is not going to work.
Yeah,
I agree,
really worried.
but I think they're going to do that.
Sorry,
probably.
I'm very worried they're going to take out some of my favorite things from it, because they're kind of from that era. Like, Leon and Hunnigan's conversations will just become a voiceover conversation rather than, an actual paused gameplay moment.
Yeah. They'll probably have some more cutscenes for different elements. They'll get rid of the island, probably.
Yeah. I'm really curious to know what the last boss battle will be like, because they'll definitely need to stack on top of that. And
yeah, that's like the only part of that game that's a little underwhelming.
Yeah, that the game just ends with the jet ski escape. I was saying to Niamh that it'd be cool if you did the jet ski escape and then you got one last like on jet ski battle out in the open water. That'd be so cool. Like he turns into a shark or something, Lord Sadler.
I think I'd like them to go a different direction with that whole fight. I just didn't think any of it was like that interesting.
It's one of the more boring fights in that game.
Yeah.
Of the perfect game, obviously.
It's going to be a hard one to kind of you're reinventing the wheel nearly with this one, because like 4 sparked such a change in combat design across all games. So it's going to be a hard one to touch. I'm a little like not disappointed, but I kind of thought doing 2 remake and 3 remake would give them a really good launch pad to maybe do more games with those characters after introducing them to people, and like maybe do a different timeline. Like it doesn't have to follow what 4, 5, and 6 became. It could be its own world with these characters in it. But I guess they're going to be just remaking them all.
But then there's rumors about Resident Evil 8 as well.
Yeah, there is. I hope 8 comes before 4.
Yes.
Because otherwise I feel like if Resident Evil 4 is out next year, I just kind of feel like that's what we're doing here, huh? You know?
Yeah. So 8, you play as Chris and you're in a European village and you fight witches? Is that what it is?
That's the rumor. Witches, possibly werewolves, and suits of armor.
Brilliant.
Apparently it's a huge departure for the series. It was meant to be a spin-off game, and then it tested so well internally that they made a numbered sequel. We'll see.
I think that's a dangerous way to make a numbered sequel. It sounds great. It sounds super fun, but then just to be like, yes, we'll change this character to Chris.
When you say to me Resident Evil witches, I'm like, fuck yeah. When you say werewolves and suits of armor, I'm like,
I want a haunted
witches.
suit of armor. That's really fun. I presume they'll be in a castle.
You think it's that? Do you remember the old Hookman demo? Or the Hookman gameplay?
Oh yeah, actual ghosts in Resident Evil.
Yeah, maybe it'll be something like that. T-Virus ghosts.
I'd love a ghost.
Silent Hill rumors have been reported.
What?
Okay, so I gotta preface this a little bit because this is actually from like the last month, so it's a little bit old news. But basically, Dusk Golem on Twitter, who's been a pretty verified leaker over the years, he's kind of leaked a lot of stuff that came true. He and some other sources have been heavily reported that the original Silent Hill game is getting licensed by Sony to be remade, and B, there's a new offshoot Silent Hill series that I think I read is going to be like similar to Telltales.
Okay, cool.
And apparently it has some key staff on board. It has Akira Yamaoka, this sound designer. It has the director of Silent Hill 1. It has, I think his name's Masahiro Ito, the character designer from Silent Hill 1, 2, and the director of Silent Hill 3. So those are some pretty key personnel. However, Konami have released their own statement on this, saying that it's not true, that there is no Silent Hills in developments. It's unusual for Dusk Golem as well as other sources to be wrong. And I feel like if a remake of Silent Hill was going to happen after the success of the Resident Evil 2 remake, it feels like the right time. Yeah. But we'll just have to wait and see. Like, honestly, I'd love a remake of Silent Hill. Like, I think that series is dead. I think it's the right time to bring it back. And I think they could do really cool stuff with it. I think Silent Hill 1 is a very specific horror game, and the last thing that game needs to be is an action film, so I hope they don't go that direction, but I'd just be happy to see Silent Hill come back. I want that world, that franchise to get another chance, and I'd be very, very excited to play whatever they put out, so we'll see. Gamescom goes digital for 2020, E3 doesn't.
So when E3 announced last month that they would be cancelling their 2020 show, they kind of alluded to the possibility of an online event. They said that there would be something to that degree. That is not happening. They said instead, we will be working with exhibitors to promote and showcase individual company announcements, including on e3expo.com in the coming months. So there will be no online component to E3 this year. However, Gamescom, which was meant to run from August 25th to August 29th, is cancelled because it just falls under Germany's ban on public events of that size, which is lifted on August 31st. They said they will be doing a full digital Gamescom event. So here's their statement. We are, however, already working at full speed on a digital Gamescom. It is, after all, the world's biggest event for games, and that's what it should be again this year. You can already look forward to how we will celebrate the best games and Gamescom together with you and millions of gamers worldwide at the end of August, even if it will only be digital and not on location. And Jeff Keighley is opening that showcase on August 24th.
Wow. Cool.
I feel like Gamescom have really put the nail in E3's coffin with this. I guess so. It's a weird thing to me, like the idea of a digital trade show, because it's like, what's the incentive for companies to not just do their own timeline with that stuff, you know? Well, bigger companies can, and some have. Like Microsoft said they're still going to be doing something during this time period. So has Ubisoft and Devolver Digital. But then there's like smaller stuff like indie showcases and stuff that even if they did their own kind of online event, it doesn't mean it's going to get any eyes on it. So putting it under a banner like Gamescom would probably get more people on it.
That's a fair point.
So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out, because Jeff Keighley has a lot of friends in a lot of places, and you know, Gamescom has been getting bigger and bigger in the years, and if they wanted a way to kill E3, then this surely is it, you know? Yeah.
PS5 limited availability.
This was a Bloomberg article where they said for the first year of launch there will be 5 to 6 million PS5s made and shipped. And they say that it isn't the COVID-19 that is affecting the production, but it is affecting the scarcity of individual components and being able to tie a price down to them, which makes pricing the PS5 more difficult. So the Sony also kind of are saying that they presume less people will be buying the PS5 at launch than the PS4 was bought at launch because of COVID-19, and also because the PlayStation 5 will have a higher price point.
Yeah.
So 4 launched at 400, I'd say this is going to launch at 500 or 550.
Wow.
I'd be surprised if they broke 550, because that's been such a realm of disaster for any console. But I think 450, 500 would be pretty likely.
Yeah.
And finally, the biggest news of the day, NPCs finally coming to Fallout 76 in the Wastelander update.
Wait, is this good news about Fallout 76?
I mean, it's news.
Okay.
It's fucking bullshit is what it is. It's like, I still think back to that press conference where they're like, and we're adding NPC, and people fucking cheered, and now Fallout 76 is using this as like a big marketing push to be like, we added that thing that's in literally every other game in the history of time, and we're making it a feature. And I guess we're talking about it, so it's working, but that doesn't make it good. It's like, I think Bethesda suck. I think Todd Howard sucks. I think everything about this game is just, it reeks of just the modern games industry being a nightmare.
It does.
It does.
That's all I have to say. That's all I have to say about that. Let's move on to some emails.
Here we are. The coolest part of the podcast. The email
Bryan,
section.
give us a little bit on just your overflowing love for emails and this section, and just let it all out.
I love when we get emails. My face is... It hurts the amount I smile when I get an email. I'm just oh boy. And like, it hasn't been read yet, so I'll click into it and then I read the email and I'm ecstatic.
Some real passion there, folks.
Oh yeah. I love getting emails. But if you wanted to email us, it's askletsfightaboss@gmail.com. What is it, Niamh? John, stop talking.
I'm sorry.
It's Niamh's turn.
askletsfightaboss@gmail.com. The best place to email. Whoever signed us... I didn't say breast, but I nearly did. Whoever signed us up to the Betty Crocker recipe mailing list, thank you, but also no thank you.
Yeah, we've since unsubscribed.
Yeah.
This first one comes in from Emmett, and it's about Sega clones. While listening to Bryan talk about Freedom Planet and how there aren't that many old school Sega clones, I thought back to a game I played recently called Agalos? An unabashed clone of the Wonder Boy games, which, if you're a fan of the Wonder Boy games, the hand-drawn remake, it's quite faithful. This got me thinking about Sega clone games. There are a metric shit slew, that's hard to say, of games that are inspired by or direct clones of the Sega NES library. Mega Man clones in abundance, Mario is the platformer to ape, and Zelda and Metroid are their fair share of attempted usurpers, to name a few. But I can't think of many that were the classic Sega influence on their sleeve. Freedom Planet and Spark the Electric Jester come to mind as Sega clones. Iconoclast is said to have taken influence from Wonder Boy. So my question is, aside from Sega clones listed above, what are your favorite Sega clones that you have to place in your heart for, or games that you have a place in your heart for, or games that you'd like to give more attention? Honestly, I hope one of you recommends a good Shinobi clone. Thanks, keep it up. That's from Tony. Huh.
Tony. Not Amish.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tony.
Thanks. The biggest one, and I don't know if you could really call it a clone, but the best Streets of Rage game is actually a fan-made Streets of Rage game called Streets of Rage Remix, which basically takes all the Streets of Rage games, turns them into like a branching path open world kind of thing, and like adds even like its own bosses and its own like enemies, and it's just... These are people who spent like 7 years making this game. They understand every intricate nuance of Streets of Rage. It plays so well. It's so much fun. Sega DMCA'd it fucking immediately. but it's still out there if you want to track it down, and I love that. I think it's a case of like nearly a fan game capturing the spirit of something even more than the original games did.
Yeah, for me, all I can really think of is Freedom Planet. I've been playing a bit more of that game, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah, you seem super into that, Brian.
I
believe what you said. I liked your analogy of if you're in an artist alley and you saw art of it, you'd buy it.
Yes, I think the characters in it are great. The only gripe I have with it is that there's a green character in it called Carol, and you can't really see her when she's standing in front of a green bush. But that's it. Other than that, perfect game. The best game ever made. As good as Resident Evil 4. People should stop making video games because they've already perfected it.
That's what I've been saying for years.
This is how gamers talk. Yeah, Shenmue 2 is the perfect... I'm not finishing that sentence.
You laugh now, but one day when this is all over and we're all sitting on a couch helping Rio enter that penguin race, you'll see.
Actually, in terms of Sega clones, like everything is a Shenmue clone, I guess.
Yep.
It's true.
So, yes, there you go.
Introduced open world gaming to the masses.
So yeah, Tony, Shenmue, there it is. That shit. Yeah.
Niamh, do you have an email you wanted to read out?
I do. Let me get it up. Quarantine Media. Hey there, mighty Bosscast. Newish fan of the show here. Per suggestion from John, I took up Gendy
Taratovsky's.
Thank you. Primal, due on the social exiling going on, and absolutely loved it. A certain episode has stuck with me, however, in the midst of the pandemic pandemonium that is our current reality. A little episode called Plague of Madness sees our protagonist facing a beast infected by a terrifying illness, causing those infected to become extremely violent when they are otherwise calm and peaceful. Watching this during an active pandemic really hit me on another level than it would normally. So my question is, what are some things you've played, watched that have a greater impact on your experience due to factors occurring in real life? Love you guys. Keep doing what you're doing, and thanks for the sleepless nights, John. From Jonathan.
That's a good question. It's definitely something that's on our minds for sure. Even before that question was asked, I think it's kind of...
Yeah.
We kind of semi-answered that a little bit.
For sure.
I think it is something that is like, it's going to affect things. I watched Quarantine. And I was like, oh, this is our Contagion. Sorry, Contagion.
Contagion, yes, yeah. The Steven Soderbergh film.
Yeah, and I was just like watching it and I was kind of like, this is fine to watch. And then it just became more and more specific, but also more cartoony because it is a film. And that obviously hit in a real way, just like Kate Winslet's character being on the front lines and getting infected and dying.
That bit is really upsetting.
Yeah, really unceremoniously. If you needed a reason to dislike Goop a bit more, it's not her fault.
Gwyneth Paltrow's character.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I think with a lot of things, it's weird because it affects some things more than it does others. I kind of thought with Resident Evil, which is about a global pandemic, you know, it would feel a certain way because I'm playing it during this, but Resident Evil is so cartoony that it doesn't even, it didn't really register as anything similar at all. Like, if anything, it just highlighted how silly Resident Evil is and how zombie concept is kind of silly. Like, you know, I don't know. I think I've been, like Bryan said, kind of consuming older things.
There's definitely way more comfort in that.
Yeah.
I feel like going back and doing the shit in games that I never did before has been a really kind of comforting thing to do, because it's like you're familiar with these worlds and you haven't, like, you've already beaten them, but just doing those extra bits. There's something about that I like. Maybe it's like something to do with, like, it reminds you of where you were when you played those games when there wasn't a pandemic going on. But I talked a lot in the last episode about like Outlaw Star and like just the kind of element of freedom in that and just like going your own way and exploring space and how completely unlike our current situation that is, and how that feels kind of liberating. So that for sure. But I think any media that like, I think, you know, we all have our comfort media, and like I'm getting ready to go through the last season of Yu Yu Hakusho again. I think I'm gonna probably download Undertale soon and like play through all the roots of that again. Just stuff like that, I think, is a good way to keep your mind off it. But I do think it is interesting how like this pandemic is sort of changing the way we engage with stuff we like, you know?
Yeah,
I've been listening to a lot more music because of it, I think, as well.
Me too, yeah.
That's great, yeah.
And I don't know what that's about specifically, but kind of just hearing someone sing and kind of like something that doesn't take a lot of, you know, that's more passive. You don't have to actively watch something or play something has been quite enjoyable.
YouTube music has replaced podcasts a lot for me, and I think part of that is I'm just sick of being reminded that I'm in a pandemic.
Yeah, a little bit. Sorry, everyone.
Sorry, everyone.
Yeah, maybe next episode we don't mention anything.
But then it would feel weird if people didn't mention it either, because I thought about that. It was just like, should we give an update or not? And then it's just like, for some people to sometimes it's really comforting to hear other people are experiencing the same kind of confusion, loneliness, and weirdness that this is all kind of bringing up. But then other times it's just so much of it all the time that you're like,
I thought it was comforting 3 weeks ago. Now, not so much.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fun's over.
But yeah, fun's over. Weird times. Okay, this next one comes in from Beth. Growing apart in close proximity. Hello, Bryan, Niamh, and Joho. So like many person right now, I am trapped in my apartment all the time with 4 roommates. I imagine a lot of people are feeling annoyed or near constantly frustrated with the people they are stuck indoors with, but that's not my problem. In my final years at I'm in my final year at university and these have been my best friends since freshman year. I've always felt the most independent from the group though, and the past year I've felt a yawning divide between my college buddies and myself. It's not that we're always angry at each other or hurt each other in a way. It's just been a gradual cooling of our friendship, falling out of love with each other, and that part's in quotation marks, if you will. Whereas before I was content to just play out the college year and enjoy them while I could. Now that we're in each other's constant company, it makes it really apparent to me that our relationship doesn't have a lot of joy anymore. I often feel devastatingly lonely. I bet I'm not the only person with this or a similar problem. What advice do you guys have for growing apart from people? What advice do you have about maintaining your emotional health when you're in environments that makes you feel isolated from the people around you? And for me specifically, do you think I should leave if I can, or should I stay because fiscally where I am I'm in the most sensible place for me to be? Thank you so much for the advice you can give. Niamh, you are glorious. Sincerely, a sad creature across the sea.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thank you. And also,
this email kind of pulled at my heart a little bit. Yeah. It's tricky because like I can totally see the dimensions to that question, but also how like it's kind of made worse by the current situation.
Yes. This person is in their 20s, I assume, early to mid 20s.
Yeah, last year college. Yeah, because like I guess when you're that age, that's kind of when you're first living on your own. You're living with friends, or you have an informal relationship with your roommates at least. But like, I think for everyone, that's never gonna be 100% like problem free. Yeah.
I think the final year of college is really difficult. It's really weird because like it's kind of bittersweet in that you're probably the closest to those people that you'll ever be, but that you know the end is coming as well, and your relationships will change. And college ends in such an anticlimax because what's after college is the real world, and that isn't fun. Yeah.
Well, compared to college, I don't know. Compared to college anyway, where it's a bit of a dream bubble at times. Yeah.
I do find like for myself, like a lot of the most painful relationships I've had have come from like trying to hang on to a past with someone when it's just not there anymore. Because I think like there is a temptation, especially if you get super close to someone, to always want to be that close, and time moves on, you become different people, and that becomes not possible anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think trying to hold on to that, for me personally, has, it's led to a lot of pain. And I think it's good that you're kind of acknowledging that yawn has kind of formed between you and your friends. But it's the kind of thing where, like, there's nothing to do about that, and it's not anyone's fault. It's just the way things have happened. And, like, just because, like, I think the best thing you can do is just go with what you feel naturally. Like, I can't really comment on, like, a fiscal situation or anything like that. But if you think you'd have a much better chance of being happier outside the situation, that's something to think about. But, yeah, I think relationships ebb and flow, and sometimes they end, and sometimes you think they're over, and then, like, they can come back in unexpected ways as well. But I think our control over it is way more limited than we think it is.
Yeah, I think listening to your heart and your head is a good idea, because, yeah, as John said, we can't really comment about what would be a good move for you to do. But if you really feel strongly that there isn't, like, you're kind of falling away from these people, and it's only, and you can feel that division getting bigger and bigger, then yeah. I will also say, you, like many long-term relationships, you fall in and out of love with people. Like, you might have a time where you're all about someone, you might have a time where you're not, and maybe you might leave these people now, they might come back into your life later, so I wouldn't ever try and go out in a way that burns bridges, I guess,
Yes.
Yeah, because sometimes I think with relationships, among certain personality types, and I'm one of them, there is a temptation to be like, okay, this is fucking over, well, let's see how over.
Yeah, like kind of a burn it all down kind of thing.
It really does need to have a strategy to it. I think if you're
Yeah.
if you're going in guns a-blazing, it's gonna hurt everyone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But a sad creature across the sea, I really hope that helps, and good luck with the situation. It sounds tough. Guys, what say we move into some Patreon shoutouts?
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Bryan, look, I'm gonna cut the bullshit. I want to give some money to the Boss Cast, but there's no way to do it, and I'm freaking out.
There is.
Are you serious? Are you serious?
Put the bomb down. There is. Okay.
Okay, it's down.
Okay.
The fuse is still lit.
That's fine. That shit is going to explode because we're going to go to this website called patreon.com/LFAB. Boom.
Bryan, I don't have time for a website, okay? I need to get this money there ASAP.
You do. No, it's fine. It's so easy. It's just a simple click away, and all of a sudden, you're going to feel way better.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Bryan, thank you so much. I wasn't aware of any of this.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Patreon.com/LFAB.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you don't need to worry about anything anymore.
Okay, cool. That's good stuff.
The people on that Discord are so fucking positive and brilliant. I'm just overwhelmed by their great sense of community. Lovely people.
Yeah, cool sense of people. It's nice to see the Discord like being a hangout spot for people in these trying times.
Absolutely.
This first shout out comes from McComiskey765. If John were made queen of the podcast, what would his first action be? It'll never happen as the queens are immortal, but John, as a hypothesis, I think if I became queen, it would probably be a thing that like I wouldn't want to change too much too quickly because I wouldn't want to upset like the flow of the podcast. But that said, Niamh and Bryan would be gone episode 1, like no doubt. Niamh, why don't you take this next one from the writing guy?
That writer guy.
That
Can I please just see the kids? It's been 4 years. Oh shit, wrong patron.
Oh my god.
I think it would be very funny if an ex-wife set up a Patreon for funding, for doing child support.
Okay, and then
Bryan.
This one is from Falcon Hand, but it says here, John, can you please shout out to your huge fan Grace who has their birthday in May? I don't know, John, can you?
I guess there's only one way to find out. Grace, enjoy your birthday in May. I think that's a wonderful time of year to have a party, and that's just a big thumbs up from me all around. Go you.
That's fantastic.
Loot drop.
We're at the end of the show. We got some stuff for you.
Niamh.
I'm reaching in big and deep, and I got something.
Good stuff.
Okay, in the bottom of this bag is a video by Jacob Geller called "Bad Graphics." And if you want someone, you know the way I can be like overly annoying and flowery and sentimental about like environment design. Well, if you think that's annoying, you're going to be really annoyed by this video because that's
Niamh,
basically
that is
all it
the
is.
most bizarre. Like, I don't even know. Like, that's like a backhanded compliment, but you slap yourself in the face as well.
Yeah, that was such a
What
put down
the
for
fuck
who?
was that?
Who's that
It's
for?
a fantastic video if you're really
Is
into flowery bullshit about environmental design.
And you like this video, Niamh?
Yeah, I love it. It's great.
He's very
What
good
was
at
the name of this
flowery
articulating
bullshit?
your brain.
What was the name of this person?
Jacob Geller, and it's called Bad Graphics.
Jacob, I just want to apologize to you personally for whatever just happens.
His
Yeah.
name was dragged.
Yeah, like
It was
Like,
dragged through a rose garden.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
Someone's
stung.
reading poetry.
covered in thorns.
Look, me and
Oh.
Jacob know exactly what we're like.
Niamh, you have a way to nosedive sections of this podcast that is your ability to do that is just frightening.
Please enjoy this fantastic video.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay, I got one. My panel with Wooly from MagFest finally went up online. You can find it over on Wooly's channel at Wooly Versus. I really had a lot of fun doing this panel. Is basically getting to live out my heel wrestling dreams, and it was just a really, really good time. So check it out.
It's very good. I was there in person. A Christmas tree died.
Yep, a Christmas tree died.
Okay, then I have a YouTuber called Scruffy who does video game audio, sometimes music, sometimes sound design. And this is their video on the sound design in Animal Crossing New Horizons. And it's just talking about like the different sound effects in the UI and the little subtle details where like there's never ever like complete silence in that game. There's always some sort of background noise, but it's all that extra detail they put into it. And he does videos as well on like games like Pikmin and a couple others. But because Animal Crossing is in right now, I thought I'd recommend this one in particular.
That
Great channel.
that sounds really chill. And yeah, like the sound design of that game's great.
Yeah, and like I really, really like YouTubers who are like who really, really know their skill. And like this guy, he's obviously a sound engineer of some sorts, but like he knows sound at a technical aspect. So it's super cool to hear him talk about it.
Sick. Sounds great. Well, dudes, another quarantine podcast. I hope everyone out there is doing all right.
Yeah, I hope you're not as awkward as we were, but you know, we're all in this together.
We're all in this together. Niamh, send us off with a final thought.
I'm sorry, Jacob Geller. I didn't mean it. Everyone else, I hope you are safe and happy, and I hope you watch something and immediately regret it because it was a bad decision, and then watch something better.
Yes, do that in that order.
Niamh, everybody. Guys, see you next time.
Bye.